Okay. Yeah, sure. I can send that to you. Cool.
Hey, everybody. Tonight we're debating whether or not Christianity is true, and we are starting right now with evidence of God. Thanks for being with us. The floor is all yours for your 10-minute opening statement.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. Um, Topic is Christianity true? So I say yes. And the best way to determine this is to examine the biblical evidence. Today, I'll be demonstrating that the Bible is completely in line with the modern scientific discoveries, meaning these are predictions from the Christian God, predating these discoveries by thousands of years. Prophecies is one of the most profound indications in science. Accurate predictions are one of the most profound ways to confirm any given idea. So let's look at a few examples of predictions in the Bible. Genesis 6:3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for he is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. According to the scientific consensus, 120 years is the max lifespan that humans should attain. Matthew 10:34. Think not that I've come to send peace on the earth. I've not come to send peace, but a sword. Despite everything that Jesus taught about love your enemies, historically Christianity did bring the sword. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And historically, as we look at the earth today, this is a fulfilled prophecy as the gospel is reaching all the ends of the earth, and as well as others like Revelation 16:12 that claims the Euphrates River will dry up, which we've seen in the last decade. The Bible's full of these predictions, and science is constantly confirming it. The writers of the Bible were being given visions and doing the best to describe what they were observing in these visions and being inspired to write. If we look at the writings from this perspective and acknowledge they did not have access to knowledge we currently do, it puts the Bible predictions into the perspective and reveals some amazing scientific predictions. Atheists like to point out that the writers of the Bible were primitive people with primitive understanding of the universe, yet at the same time demands detailed descriptions of the universe. But if you view the world from their perspective, you'll see a comprehension of the universe in these writings they themselves could not have comprehended what these scientific discoveries they were predicting were. Like Job 26:8. He binded up the waters in his thick clouds. Clouds are made up of water droplets. Within a cloud, water droplets condense one into another, causing the droplets to grow when these water droplets get too heavy to stay suspended, hence rainfall. NOAA.gov. Genesis 2:6. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. This is describing evaporation causing precipitation. Job 38:4. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declared, if you have understanding. Who has laid the measurements of it, if you know, or who has stretched the line upon the earth? There's only one line that stretches across the earth, and it's called the equator. And the measurements from the equator to the north and south poles are identical. These intriguing predictions that took us thousands of years to conclude are throughout the Bible in abundance, thus demonstrating an unexplainable knowledge. One of my favorite scientific predictions in the Bible is the most obvious. Einstein and quantum physics helped us understand much about the nature of matter and probable universal origins. It also gave atheists an escape hatch when claiming that God is not required to create the universe, as nothing has never been observed to do anything, especially create something. The Big Bang Theory says all energy was condensed into a tiny speck. It somehow became unstable and an explosion occurred, setting off the Big Bang and the beginning of time, space, and matter in one event. The atheist champions claim that energy isn't eternal, and thermodynamics states the first law energy cannot be created or destroyed. Hence, creation was not necessary according to them. Einstein's famous equation equals mc squared states that energy and mass are interchangeable. Einstein said, everything is energy. That's all there is to it. Quantum physics has determined all matter is energy and can be converted back to energy. In the beginning, energy created everything, time, space, and matter. Energy is eternal. It doesn't end and it doesn't begin. It can't be created or destroyed, and it's the only thing that existed in the beginning. It's the driving force of all life. It's invisible. It's everywhere. It's in everything. We all exist of it. It exists through it and in it. It leaves the body when one dies, and it continues on after the body as it returns to the earth. The energy returns on after the body returns to the dirt as energy. This certainly sounds like the nature of a god and the soul, except gods are individual beings. They do not contain such characteristics in their descriptions. They are advanced beings that sit on their thrones and demand worship from the subordinates below. That is, until the Christian God revealed himself to humanity through his book. All through Christianity, theologians have struggled and argued about the meaning that the Christian God reveals himself as a singular being, yet with his undeniable plurality. The Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or let us make man in our image. The Old Testament God constantly referring to himself in a plural nature, yet explaining he is a singular being, hence monotheism. This is one of the biggest mocking points for atheists to latch on to. However, the creator of the universe is multiple yet singular, everywhere yet himself. How could Jesus be here yet speak to himself? How could we be one with Jesus as Jesus is one with God? What does the Bible mean, we are little gods, or what you do to others you've done to me? It appears that the physics champions of atheism like Cross and Neil deGrasse Tyson have been measuring the Christian God and they didn't even realize it. A few Bible verses throughout the Bible that reveals the nature of the Christian God. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, which is and which was. For through him we have access by one Spirit unto God, having neither beginning of days nor end of life. God, you have been our habitation in all generations from everlasting, in whom you are also built together for a habitation of God through the Spirit. Do not I fill heaven and earth, says the Lord? For in him we live, we move, and we have our being. For of him and through him and to him are all things. One God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and earth, visible and invisible, whether they're thrones, dominions, principalities, or powers. All things were created by him and for him. The worlds were framed by the word of God, so the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Now unto the King eternal, immortal, invisible, the only wise God, there is but one God, the Father, of whom things we in him, and the Lord Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, ourselves in him. Seeing he giveth all life, breath, and all things. And the Lord God formed the man out of dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. I form the light, create the darkness. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light that dwells within him. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. God is great, we understand him not. Neither can the number of his days be searched out. Great is our Lord, and of great power. His understanding is infinite, and the kingdom is within you. So if energy is in fact a piece of the Creator that holds consciousness that he breathed into us as a soul that combines with our minds to make each individuals, then we should be able to find consciousness outside of the brain, thus proving energy holds the consciousness that drives all life. There's a slime mold. This is a single-celled organism that baffles the biologists that study it. It's able to problem solve, creating the most efficient pathways possible 10 out of 10 times. It was called a biological computer, making decisions, solving mazes, no brain, no central nervous system. In an experiment, the Japanese biologist laid nutrients out at major points on a Tokyo map. The slime mold replicated the Tokyo transport network. What took engineers over 100 years to perfect, this slime mold did in a mere day. This is clear evidence that consciousness exists separate from the brain. The common denominator is the energy. Exactly what the Bible predicts we should find in this world. Like E equals MC squared is an equation for the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, energy, mass, and the speed of light. The energy is God. God took on the matter. The Spirit guides us through situations affecting our outcomes in the future. This is the equation of the triune God. I look forward to diving in lots more of evidence to prove the Christian's God's word is accurate. Thus, Christianity is undeniably true. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening statement. We're going to kick it over to Ozien as well. Thanks for being with us, Ozien. The floor is yours for that 10-minute opening statement as well.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Charles. Evidence of God. So I had a PowerPoint presentation set up about the inductive problem of evil, evidential problem of evil, but it doesn't seem like he gave any type of those characteristics for God. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. So you said God. Let's go into energy. So I do believe, as an atheist, that energy is eternal, that it can either be created or destroyed. I wouldn't say I know what the natural event was that started the universe into existence, but I don't have a positive belief of a singularity or anything like that. That's not the current cosmological model that we hold true. Energy doesn't have any intentionality behind it, and there's no reason for me to presuppose that there's any intentionality behind the beginning of this instantiation of the universe, even if there was a beginning, because we still don't know if our universe has a beginning. Science gives us our best understanding of it that we have today, and it's something like 14.5 billion years old as our best understanding of that. So I have no reason to presuppose that there's any intentionality behind those things. So I can falsify the Bible very quickly about 120 years old. There's evidence of humans today that are older than 120 years old. The current oldest person today is 123 years old. There is a falsification of that right now. There's been evidence of people that live to be 130 years old. Euphrates River has not dried up. This has been a claim that Christians have made lots of time. And Euphrates River is predicted to dry up by the year 2040 because of man-made global climate change. Because we live in this ark ship called the Earth, and we're not protecting the environment we live in. And I would hope that all Christians that believe that we've been given this earth to protect would come on board and understand, to prevent the Euphrates from drying up, which we don't want to happen, we should do something to prevent global warming. So there's lots of methods to falsify the Bible. The Genesis story is not literal history. Most academics, most scholars in biblical scholarship do not claim it's biblical history. As a matter of fact, there's a book called 200 Proofs of the Bible to show that the Old Testament justifies that the earth is flat and local, because local cosmology at the time was about what they understood about the nature of the world local to them. Let me know when my time's up too, because I had it prepared earlier with the problem of evil. So I don't know what your definition of God is. I will go touch on it really quickly because I did present that. I did prepare for this in the beginning. So if God is maximally powerful and God is omniscient, knows everything that's going to happen, then there are certain evils, gratuitous evils in the world that God could have prevented. There are certain natural evils in the world that God could have prevented, such as the Holocaust, where God's chosen people, suffer severely from natural evils in the camp, such as dysentery, different pathogens and stuff like that, and from the evil people that put them there. And yes, I am a moral realist. I do believe morality exists, but I believe it emerges from our biological nature, from evolution. And I don't think it's given to us by God, but that's a different story. And I do believe these type of natural evils be like a hurricane, diseases, children with cancer and stuff like that, are best explained by unguided evolution versus either a guided evolution or an unguided evolution that God existed if God is a morally perfect being. If God is not a morally perfect being, then I don't think the Christian God exists. And so I had a long presentation prepared for that, but I sort of wanted to address that because I didn't want to straw man you, because I'm not sure if you believe that God is a morally perfect being, but if you do, maybe we can talk about that during the open discussion also. And with that, I'll close my opening.
Thank you very much for that opening as well. And folks, I want to let you know if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, James Coons. Very excited. I'm very thankful for our moderators. Justin and Ryan have done a tremendous job. This is my first time in like a month back. I'm excited to share. I did wrap up my program that I've been in the last 6 years, and I'm very excited about that. But I want to say a huge thanks to Ryan and Justin for moderating while I was gone. They kept Modern Day Debate rolling. Speaking of Modern Day Debate, folks, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. See right over here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future debates upcoming on this channel. And if you haven't already, maybe you're like, well, I've already hit subscribe. Like, what's the problem? Check out our podcast. All of these debates, 24 hours or within 24 hours of being live, end up on the Modern Day Debate podcast, available on fine podcast apps everywhere. With that, we're going to kick it over to the open dialogue. Thank you very much, gentlemen. The floor is all yours.
Alrighty. Thanks for that, Ozien.
So I think one of the biggest disagreement I have is you said like E equals MC squared is God. And like, I don't think you have any justification for that. So we've only known that for 1915, I think, or was it 1905 when he came out with the first paper, 1915, whatever. I do these debates, I can't remember. But
Mm-hmm. So yeah. The point of that is, so like you said with energy, right? You said that there's no evidence to suggest there's any consciousness in it. So I gave you the example of the slime mold, right? Mm-hmm. The slime mold, all it is a cell. It has energy in it. That's it. So if the energy isn't what's displaying the consciousness, then what is it inside the cell, right? They've long wondered if our energy in our brains, the electric impulse is what causes our consciousness, or if it is in fact the mechanics of the brain. This is something that they don't fully understand, right? So when you look at the slime mold that's showing intelligence and it's solving mazes, you have to ask yourself, how is it doing that without a brain and a central nervous system?
It does have a central nervous system. So I looked it up. It does respond to electrical stimuli. It does have a nervous system. So the slime mold is capable of sensing tactile, chemical, and optical stimuli and converting them to characteristic patterns of its electrical potential oscillations. The electrical responses to stimuli may propagate along protoplasmic tubes for distances exceeding tens of centimeters as impulses in neural pathways do. So they have a neural pathway analog like we do within these slime molds. So as they've done more investigation, and it's a paper on PubMed called A Would-Be Nervous System from a slime mold. So you don't have to have a brain to have a nervous system, like a higher functioning brain that can deliberate and make decisions like we do, to have a nervous system that responds to stimuli like slime molds do. So once again, it's like a algorithm that slime molds have evolved to have that respond to outside stimuli. It's not energy itself that has any type of consciousness.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're looking up here, but I'm looking it up. It does not have a central nervous system. When you listen to the biologists give their lectures, they explain it doesn't have a central nervous system. This is Science Daily. Researchers have identified how slime mold, Caesarium polyps, I can't say that word, saves memories, although it has no central nervous system. Complex single-celled organism that has no nervous system. It can learn and transfer its knowledge to its fellow slime molds via fusion because it multiplies itself, right?
Yeah.
So
once again, it has protoplasmic tubes that act as neural pathways. So it has an analogous system that is not like a central nervous system that humans have and other life forms has. It has an analogous system called protoplasmic tubes. So it does respond to stimuli. It's not the electricity or the energy. What's energy? Maybe this is a better question. What to you is energy?
So according to physics, like to the physics, so when you look at energy at the basic level, it's the ability to do work. But when you look at it on a level of physics, it is its own entity, right? Like in the big energy, it is. If you listen to it from a physicist perspective, it is absolutely its own entity. Like in the beginning, it was just it was just energy, a multitesimal dot that exploded, right? It wasn't in the beginning. It was the ability to do work.
No.
And like Einstein says, energy converts to matter and matter converts back to energy. They're interchangeable, right? Dark matter, for instance. So at the basic level, energy
No, not
is...
for instance. There's no for instance with dark matter. We don't know how dark matter works.
We don't
dark
know,
energy works at all.
Exactly.
But let's go back to this. The singularity is not part of the current cosmological model. We don't know what that is. I'd like to share a screen if you want to see.
Sure.
What the current cause, and I can show a screen about the slime molds. I'm reading it right here. And,
I just wanted, because we jumped, but I just wanted to, before we go on to that, the slime mold. So are you suggesting that consciousness doesn't need a brain? If you're saying that the slime mold can solve problems, make decisions, solve mazes, and think and make choices, then you're saying that a brain is not necessary to do to make choices and have consciousness.
Yeah, so it's like a computer program, an algorithm. So it has protoplasmic tubes that is like a program that when it experiences external stimuli, it responds to the external stimuli like any type of neural pathway would, like a program. So the idea of consciousness, like it's consciousness, a lot of people means like self-awareness. I don't think anybody's saying slime molds are self-aware. They're saying that slime molds responds to external stimuli.
But they're able to remember. They're able to remember things. They're able to sort out mazes. They're able to pass this information on to other pieces of the slime mold. So if you're going to say that that they're not conscious, you need to kind of explain how they're able to communicate with the. So of course they're not self-aware.
No.
They don't have the parts to be self-aware, but they're communicating with other slime molds and they're solving problems and they're displaying a consciousness. How do you solve problems without a consciousness?
No, it's you're making the claim they have a consciousness to solve problems. Science doesn't make the claim they have a consciousness. The paper I'm reading is a slime mold makes decisions about its propagation direction based on information fusion from thousands of spatially extended protoplasmic loci, similar to a neuron collecting information from its dendritic tree. The analogy is distant yet inspiring, so it's analogous to how brains work. We speculate on whether alternative would-be nervous systems. So it could be like a brain, but it's too dissimilar from what we understand a brain is to fully understand it. So maybe it is a brain. It's just a non-neurological brain. It uses protoplasmic loci and protoplasmic tubes that act as a brain. So brains don't have to exist like we think of human brains, but energy itself, like the potential to do work, is not making decisions. It needs some type of biological thing that's responding to external stimuli. You're making the claim it is consciousness, which to me means it's self-aware, and nobody else is making that claim except you. So that would be your burden to prove that they are conscious.
Yeah, and when you read that, you made statements like they speculate somehow. They don't know because they don't know, right? They can speculate, but that's the thing. They can speculate about all they want about this single-celled organism that's full of energy and making choices to seek out energy, right? That's what it's doing, right? It's going after its nutrients. It's making these decisions to gather the food and the nutrients to convert it to energy, right? So if you're going to argue that it's not, like, you have no basis to say it's not energy, so you have to explain how a being is displaying consciousness, right, before you can say that it's not the energy. You're eliminating the energy, but what else is left in the cell? Well, there's no central nervous system. We looked that up. There is no central nervous system.
No, there is a central nervous system, analogous system. Once again, it is called a protoplasmic loci dendritic tree with protoplasmic tubes. It's an analogous system to a central nervous system that other animals of life form have. So yes, it has a system that responds to external stimuli. Energy is the ability to do work. You're making the claim that they are self-aware. It's not my burden to substantiate that they're self-aware, just because they could be self-aware, but it would because they have a nervous system. It's a dendritic tree, protoplasmic loci with protoplasmic tubes. Shit, I've never heard of.
But that's exactly it.
And you're claiming to be the expert on this and claiming they have consciousness.
I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm simply displaying the fact.
Yes, you are, because you're saying they have a consciousness with no justification to claim they have a consciousness except your own personal feelings about
it's not a personal feeling. When something's displaying behaviors of consciousness, we have to assume that there's some sort of consciousness in that organism that's displaying that behavior, right? You can't just brush off the consciousness and say that's not consciousness. I don't like it because they said they don't know how it happens, right? The fact of the matter is, until this thing, we thought it was the brain that processes consciousness and thoughts and problem-solving skills, right? If something's displaying problem-solving skills and solving equations, this is displaying a form of consciousness as far as we understand it. We've never observed this. This is why the slime mold is so baffling to these biologists. They say somehow we don't know. They're trying to give reasons for it, but they don't fully understand how it's doing this, right? You can watch the lectures on it. They don't know what it's doing. It's their best guess. So if their best guess is that it's a protoplasma pretend central nervous system, but they've never displayed that these things can do this outside of this one organism that's doing it, right? Why are you eliminating the energy from the discussion when energy has been a topic of consciousness for a long time?
Energy is the ability to do work. That's all it is in science and physics. This is your claim. Secondly, this is best explained by evolution. This is an evolutionary process. It is a brain. Whether you want to deny it or not, it is a type of blame. Thirdly, even under theistic evolution or naturalistic evolution, neither of these claims, theistic evolution, which you reject too, from the last debate, if I remember correctly, none of these claims justify Christianity is true. None of these claims justify that God exists. So once again, you haven't demonstrated that energy is consciousness. We need energy for our consciousness to function, but energy is not consciousness. It is something else. It's a different category of thing. Consciousness is an emergent property that requires energy and matter to function.
So energy, the brain is made of energy. So if to say that energy is not the brain is absolutely made of energy. Like, see, this is the problem that I run into. When you watch Neil deGrasse Tyson and you watch Cross and you watch all your atheist leaders, they explain this. Neil deGrasse Tyson says energy is formless, but when it makes brains, right? So, but then when I come into these discussions with atheists, they go to the ability to do work. On a physicist level, energy is far more than ability to do work. And if you look at the Big Bang itself, that displays that very easily, right? In the beginning was unstable ability to do work, right? It doesn't, energy is its own entity that makes things. Energy and mass are interchangeable, right? So the energy that's in the brain is made of energy. And then the electric pulses in the brain is also energy, right? So when the electric pulses in the brain are working in the brain to conduct the consciousness, this is what the discussion has been. Is it the energy? Is it the electric energy that's making the consciousness, or is it the movement of the brain? The slime mold proves it's not the components of the brain that's doing it. That's my point. Consciousness exists outside of the brain. And they didn't know this. They still say that they don't know this, but yet we have something like a slime mold that's displaying this behavior. That's my point, right?
Once again, the slime mold has a brain analogy, so you're just
it doesn't have
denying
a brain.
It does. I just described that it does. So I read the paper, read it word for word. It described it as a brain analogy. You can deny it or not. Secondly, electricity is not energy. Electricity can perform work. So electricity can take matter and produce heat, thermal, and produce work and cause things to move. So the electricity running through your brain will produce heat and will produce work. And you burn that fuel. That's why you need to continually bring in oxygen and continually intake food. So you can I think it's like 30% of the energy goes to function your brain. Don't quote me, people. Somebody can send a super chat to James. I think a $20 super chat will work to tell us what percent it is for the brain. But I think it's something like that.
I
But
do want
so
to give
it,
you a chance to respond, EOG, but I also want to make sure that maybe in the next few minutes we start to cover some of the other arguments, just because we've gone very deep on this one already.
Yeah, sure. So, the electricity is a form of energy, right? And I mean, we're stuck at this spot, I guess. I from what I've read and what I've seen, this thing doesn't have a brain. I'm not sure where you're getting that. It doesn't have a central nervous system. It has nothing of the sort. And the biologists that do the lectures that I've watched, that ran the experiments, they don't seem to think it has a brain or a central nervous system or any way of doing this either. It baffles them. So to sit here and act as if it's been solved and there's some sort of pretend central nervous system, I'm not sure where that, but we can move on. That's no problem. In your opening, you said 100. No one's lived to 130, so it's 120 years. And yes, the Bible says 120, but I mean it's the 120 years, right? So in your 120s. The Euphrates River, prior to the Euphrates River, where it says that it dries up in the Bible, the trumpet before says that it scorched the earth, the sun scorched the earth. So you're exactly right. It is climate change, and the Bible predicted that.
just don't gish gallop. So let's talk about one thing at a time.
Sure.
So 122 years old. So there's nothing to stop people to live longer than 120 years old. Let's just talk about this for a moment. Could it be the case? So usually, like longevity, people could live into old age all throughout history. Usually, like most people would die young, right? Like a lot of famous scientists live to be like in their 80s, even in like the 1600s. Well, I thought people only lived to be 25 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
because a lot of people died young, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even in the Bible, I forget who's describing it. I think maybe Dave. No, I'm not sure, but he says they lived to be 70-ish. So, I mean, it was pretty normal back then, even, right? So, yeah.
So just through basic observations of the people around you, you could see that typically no one lived to be past 120 years old.
Yes, but back then nobody ever made it to 120 years old, right? That's something that we've been able to maximize our lifespan with our modern medicine and different attributes like that. I don't think that anybody back in those days would have made it to 120 without natural medicine, or sorry, modern medicines. I don't see how that's possible. It's a speculation, but I just don't see how that's possible, as every example we have of people living into their 120s has had severe interventions with modern medications, right?
I'm not sure, we don't have good records going all the way back, but it doesn't matter. My point is that it would be easy to say most people died of old age in their 80s, just like they do today, right? People typically die of old age in their 80s or 90s. The average lifespan, if people live old, is about 78 years old. So it's no stretch of the imagination. There might be a few people to live to be 105. And you could just, and so to me, it's not a miracle for the people in the Bible to say the maximum age should be 120 years old, because you could just look around and observe the people around you that no one was living to be that old.
Sure, fair. I'm pointing out, I agree, people perhaps could have lived that old. I'm just pointing out that it says the Spirit of God will no longer strive with man, and the lifespan will be 120 because he is flesh. And modern scientists are saying that we're probably at our cap with 120. They don't see us going, with modern medicines and advancements, they don't see us surpassing 120. It seems to be our modern atmospheric cap right now.
I don't agree with that. I think we'll go beyond eventually, but that's a different argument. We're not here for that. But
sure. Did you want to jump in? You mentioned evolution. So I know this isn't about evolution, but in the Bible, it talks a little bit about. It says, "Let the waters bring forth the moving creature that hath life." So God's attributing the moving creatures, the first creatures that existed, to the water. It's the platform. Let the waters bring forth. It says, and then let the fowl multiply in the sky. So there's no transition except for merely that. So it went from the water to the sky. And then it says, let the fowl multiply in the earth. So there's a correlation of events in accordance with the kinds in Genesis that it certainly appears like perhaps there's some sort of evolution going on there, right? So if if it's explaining abiogenesis, which it is, we know, well, we don't know, but they think that life originated in water, and the Bible says it did. And then the Bible says they went to sky and then to land, which the dinosaurs were mainly birds, right? But I just wanted to point out, Darwin himself said that if evolution was correct, we should find an abundance of transitional fossils, and we find absolutely none. I know atheists like to, because we don't find any, a lot of people, atheists or evolution believers rather, will say, oh, we're all transitional fossils, which is not what Darwin meant at all. Darwin was looking for something that...
lots of claims. I just want, so we're going to talk about evolution. I just want to cover this really quick. Does evolution falsify God?
No, wouldn't falsify God.
Then why are we talking about it?
Because evolution's in the so in accordance with this, where I'm getting at with the transitional fossils is according to the biblical narrative. If it says it's describing an abiogenesis in some form of evolution here, which would help to explain. But according to the fossil records, there's no transitional fossils, and according to the Bible, when God first created His creation, nothing died, and this is why we would find no transitional fossils between these transitions.
Well, first of all, it doesn't matter what Darwin said, because Darwin isn't the expert on evolutionary theory. Darwin is not even the first one that really came up with it. He's the first one that popularized the idea of a Darwinian evolution. Then we have like a synthesis sort of idea nowadays, but he is not the expert on evolutionary theory. So why even bring up Darwin? It becomes with transitional fossils, it's a sort of a red herring. When we're talking about,
no, it has nothing.
It is a red herring.
It has nothing to do with Darwin. If you take a
then
picture,
don't bring it up.
So
because
he was
Darwin
right.
Says.
He was right.
No, he
That's
was
why I'm
not right.
I'll tell you why. So if you
let me finish I gave you like 2 minutes to talk. Let me finish.
What?
So the reason why people bring up that we wouldn't expect to like see a species that's in between two species is because every single species, their offspring are of the same species. That is what evolution predicts. We never predict that one species is going to give an offspring to another species in the science of the theory of evolution. So I don't know what you mean by transitional fossils. We have millions and millions and millions and millions of fossils of various species that we can see where they have gone from one species to another species. And we can do DNA testing. We can do I'm not an expert in evolution. I'm not here to discuss evolution. First of all, you said evolution doesn't falsify God. So unless evolution falsifies God, I don't see why we're talking about evolution.
Well, because the Bible falsifies your form of evolution. That's why. And evolution doesn't say species stick with species.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
so
evolution teaches that a single cell gradually
no.
morphed into everything we see today. That's evolution theory.
We need to fix something really quick. We have a disagreement here. Does the theory of evolution as understood in science falsify God?
No, but the Bible falsifies the theory of evolution as understood by science.
No, that's not the question I asked you. It
doesn't falsify God, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because the Bible has the better idea of evolution that your version can't explain.
You can't have it both ways. You can't say that the theory of evolution that's understood by science doesn't falsify God, but that God falsifies the theory of evolution under science. You can't have it both ways. That's a contradiction. They both, so either this theory of evolution understood by science falsifies God or it doesn't.
No, God falsifies your understanding of the theory of evolution.
So then you agree that if the theory of evolution understood by science is true, that your God claim is false?
No.
Then it doesn't matter. It's a red herring. We shouldn't even be talking about it.
Well, it does, because it falsifies your worldview. That's the point, right?
It doesn't you just agreed just a moment ago that
it doesn't falsify my worldview. It falsifies your worldview. No, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Then you don't know. Then you understand the argument. So let me explain it again really clearly. If the theory of evolution that's understood by science right now is true, is the Bible false?
Once again, no. I understand your argument. You're not understanding mine, though. See, you're avoiding the topic because that's the point. Is if evolution is in the Bible, If evolution is in the Bible and it gives a better explanation than your idea of it, that shows that the Bible knew something that they don't today, right? But I mean, we can move on if you don't know much about evolution.
They both can't be true, though. It can't be true.
Why not? Why can't they both be true?
It can't be true that your explanation for the theory of evolution is true and the scientific explanation for the theory of evolution is true, and they contradict. Two things can't be true. Two things can't be true that contradict each other. That violates the law of non-contradiction. That's like saying a married bachelor exists.
No, it's because the Bible gives the explanation as to why we don't find the necessary transitional fossils, the billions that should be found. We should find more transitional fossils than we find productive species.
How does it explain that?
Because when God created the creatures of the earth, they didn't die. Right, which is why when they made their yeah, you're laughing, but this is the Bible. You don't have an explanation why you don't have transitional fossils, right?
You just contradicted yourself then, because the theory of evolution that we accept as true says the Earth is something like 4 billion years old. It says evolution has happened with life over billions of years, right? So you are saying that's not true.
Did I say that wasn't true? I never said that wasn't true.
Well, then if it's true, then it doesn't contradict the Bible.
Because it proves the idea that your idea of evolution is wrong. Therefore, God's is correct, is the correct scientific explanation for it. Therefore, the Bible is demonstrating its knowledge beyond yours and the modern scientific understanding of evolution, right? That's the whole point of the argument. I'm not sure why you don't follow that.
The modern understanding of evolution could be wrong if it contradicts the Bible's understanding of evolution, and the Bible's understanding of evolution is true. Then if the modern scientific understanding is correct, it would falsify the Bible. Either the Bible falsifies the modern standing. Are you saying the Bible falsifies the modern standing of evolution?
So the Bible explains the holes in evolution that evolution should expect to have from I just explained it, the transitional fossils. There's no transitional fossils.
There are transitional fossils. Name a transitional fossil. My mother.
See, that's what atheists see. So the idea
I don't care what your claim is. That is a transitional fossil.
Oh, my dear.
She wasn't a different species. Your misunderstanding of evolution doesn't matter towards what the science claims about evolution.
So you don't believe in evolution. You don't believe that a single cell transformed into everything we see today. You don't believe that?
No one claims a single cell transformed into evolution today.
No, so a single cell didn't. So a giraffe was not a single cell at one point in history. Is that what you're saying?
No,
it wasn't. Okay, so you don't understand evolution, is what you're saying.
Better than you.
Apparently not, because you don't even understand Darwinian evolution. You think a species makes a species. You should be a creationist, man. You jump on board.
Species make a species.
Species stay in their species. That's not evolution. Evolution is a speciation change.
So what's the first life form under theory of evolution?
The first life form starts with the single cell after abiogenesis, because they separate that, right? Because they don't want to add that in, because then it would just look all stupid.
Prokaryotes.
Eukaryotes. Yeah. So eukaryotes. So single celled organisms were the first form. So tell me, is a eukaryote? Okay, well, you're going to say, yeah, a giraffe is a eukaryote. Is a eukaryote transformed into the giraffe we see today? Don't give me a giraffe as a eukaryote. Tell me, did it transform into the giraffe? The eukaryote.
It's a single-celled organism, yes. Did it transition into a giraffe in one generation? No.
Not one generation, ever. Through billions and yes, exactly. So why do we run around in this circle if you're going to admit it anyways? So where's the transitional fossils between that single cell and the giraffe? Show me where it is. Show me. It's not your mother.
Transitional fossils for giraffes. Transitional fossils. So if I show this transitional fossils,
you're going to show me a productive species. You're going to show me a dog or something dumb. See, that's the thing.
No. If all species are productive. There's no such thing as a middle species.
There is. There has to be.
You're wrong.
No.
You're straw manning the theory of evolution.
No.
Yes, you are.
So when the fish moved onto land, were his arms there right away, or was he flopping around? Was he flopping around?
I'm sorry. Are you an expert in evolutionary biology?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because they don't say there's a transitional species like a half man.
Because they can't. Because they don't exist. That's why they don't say it.
Because that's not what the theory says. You're straw manning the theory. No. And secondly, if it doesn't falsify God, this is a red herring argument anyways. Either evolution falsifies God or it doesn't. Does it falsify God?
No, but God falsifies it. Yeah, that's the point. But we can move on.
Oh, then it falsifies God. So evolution is true. You want me to show you all the examples of evolution, transitional fossils, so we can put this to bed? Because that'll falsify God. So then your argument's debunked. But fortunately for most Christians in the world, like the vast majority of Christians in the world, accept theistic evolution is true. So for them, it won't falsify God. But for you,
because they believe what they're told, but they don't look into it and ask, where's the transitional fossils?
They don't believe what they're told. They believe the evidence.
Right. Darwin came up with the theory and he was spot on with the transitional fossils, but because you guys don't find any, all of a sudden your mother's a transition, right? This is what atheists do. I see this all the time. Everybody knows if you take a picture book and you draw a fish and then you draw a giraffe and you start flipping through and you just stop. This is how evolution teaches things happen. It's all micro changes, very small, minute changes, right? Micro. Yes. So where are those steps?
Not micro.
You guys jump from one to the other and go, there was nothing flopping around. There was nothing with one arm that was useless. It didn't exist. Because you can't find it.
Well, I have the fossils. Because I'm not prepared to do a debate on giraffes. But so the transitional species that we know of, at least, from giraffe to whatever, it's Honantherium, Ramatherium, Giraffocaryx, Cantomeryx, and Prodramtherium. There you go. Transitional species.
Yeah, and they're not transition. They're productive species in the fossil record. The point of a transitional fossil, see, and Darwin knew it too, right? No. But you guys all run from it. Darwin knew that the fossil record should show
the authority fallacy, because he's not.
It's not an authority fallacy.
It is. He's not the authority on evolution. Problem of evil, if we can, was my opening argument early. I created a big long presentation for.
The problem of evil, this is very simple. The problem of evil is God created us. There's a purpose to this, right? We're not all just here like evolution theory at random. So there's a purpose to this. And the purpose is, Jesus taught, was to love each other as I've loved you. That's the purpose of life, is to give your life for others, per se, right? That's when you reach what Jesus' perfection, ideals of perfection. So if children are suffering from cancer, why are you not working in a lab to solve it rather than criticizing it? That's the point. Evil can be solved by humanity, right? God put us here to solve these problems, not blame him that the problems are here. And yes, I understand that there's suffering that's out of our control. I understand that, but that's part of the fallen nature of man. But if we would work together and accomplish these things to help humanity, we could stop starving kids. We could find cancer cures. Like we could all get into these fields and make it a passion of ours, but instead we just complain about God. That's very easily the solution to the suffering in the world.
So that wasn't my argument really for the inductive evidentially problem of evil. It's part of it in part. But in your ontology there, Christianity, is God a perfectly good being, perfectly moral being?
Yes, he is, yeah.
Is he maximally powerful? He can do anything logically possible?
Yeah.
Does he know everything that's happening all over the world?
Yeah.
Could he have created it so it was not our nature for the Catholic Church scandal with children? Sure. Do we need free will to cause that, or could he just made it not our nature to want to harm children and still have free will.
Yeah, he could have made it a perfect plan. That's what you're getting at. He could have made it a
No,
utopia.
not perfect.
Okay.
Not
He could have made it
perfect.
a utopia. So, okay, go ahead. Finish your point. Go ahead.
I'm not. I just want to make it clear. I'm not claiming that we need perfection. I'm just saying there are certain types of evil that were so abhorrent that we all recognize it as humanity as evil, right? Like horrendous evil, gratuitous evil, if you're familiar with the argument. So there are certain things that are gratuitously evil, like locking up 6 million Jewish people into camps and causing them to die of starvation, disease, literally gassing them to death. Like, and natural evils like tsunamis, hurricanes, all these events that we can't prevent, that God could prevent. But let's talk about human nature. So if God could have prevented humans from stopping people from the Catholic Church, like his church, right, that has a tradition from the founding fathers, why couldn't he have made it in man's nature not to desire to harm children in that manner?
Well, I just explained it. He could have made it this way, but there's a purpose to what we're going through here. So God is allowing us to solve these issues and work together, but we refuse
Explain
to do
the
it.
purpose.
And instead, we divide ourselves by all these different, races, land masses, all these different issues that we divide ourselves instead of working together like God, Jesus explains we should be, right? So Jesus gives us the answer to that.
What's the purpose to cause that pain and suffering to children?
The purpose is you can't have suffering, you can't have love without suffering. How are you going to have how are you going to experience love if you don't understand loss?
You can just experience love. I can experience.
That's not an answer. How can you experience?
No,
it's not an. You can't just say You can't just use the same word and say
Children experience love without experiencing losses. Children experience love. We know this is a fact because we can do brain imaging. We can do tests to determine that children experience love without ever experiencing loss. So that's a false dichotomy. You can experience love without experiencing loss. So what are we learning from this one? You're saying it's a necessary evil. The Catholic Church scandal was a necessary evil to harm children. What's the necessary evil? Why is it necessary?
I just want to address that. Parents give children the opportunity to love. People around the children give them that opportunity through their own love for that child to learn. That child is not just picking up love on its own. It's picking up, like the brain is 100% memory, right? It's just picking up what it's observing. Its parents loves it. Its parents feeds it. Its parent takes care of it. Its parents is showing it the love that their parents showed them, and on and on and on. The things that we learned through our existence, through the potential loss. Love and loss go hand in hand. You can't have love without the potential for loss. And that's why children do that. Is not because it's their own nature. It's because they're taught this. That's why
they're born that way.
Do you think all children are treated good and they all feel love? They feel love irregardless. When a parent treats them bad, do they love them? When someone is hurting them, do they? So when somebody's hurting a child, they just a parent and a child in a house together, and somebody's hurting them, they love that person, or do they long for a love that they understand because of pain?
Often the children that are abused by their parents still love their parents.
They long for a love.
But you're avoiding the question I asked. So I gave an example of children that we know that they love, and children don't have to experience loss to experience love. But I want to understand what's a necessary. So let me give you an argument. So if you don't know what the unknown property is about the necessary evil that we have to have, or the necessary good that we have to have for any given event, then it's a wash. We know for a fact that this event is evil. We know for a fact that God has the ability to create it in man's nature to not want to desire little kids in that manner. Yet, the gods-like church from the very beginning had a huge scandal, and he made it in our nature, or made it in some men's nature, to desire to do that thing. So why is that evil necessary? Under naturalism, it makes more sense and we have to work together to prevent the things under naturalism. We don't have a supernatural being that could have made us differently. So either God created a world that's stupid, or God should have intervened to prevent that thing. Why not that thing?
So what you're doing here is you're borrowing from God's morality. So you're using an objective morality. You're acting as if we have an objective morality in existence, which we do. The Bible says one day the laws will be written on their heart. But if you go back thousands of years, having sex with children wasn't wrong. Killing people wasn't wrong. Breeding your siblings wasn't wrong. Who are you to say that these things were wrong back then? Morality is objective today because God laid the foundation and he told us he would.
Are you really being an apologist for it? Like, really?
Well, you're bringing up a ridiculous argument.
No,
you're saying objective morality is the standard for our existence, which you have no basis on that aside from the Bible.
Yes, I do. I believe in objective morality. I'm a moral naturalist. So that's not the debate today.
Where does it come from?
It comes from our biological nature. Moral naturalism is the number one researched philosophy about moral realism. And most philosophers believe in moral naturalism. Matter of fact, I have Christians that argue that moral naturalism is true and is a better argument for morality than divine command theory, because you can't look at the Bible and say it's wrong to marry a 13-year-old. But I can look at the nature of human beings and understand what it means to give implied and explicit consent, and what it means to cause psychological and physical harm to children, and know that it is morally wrong to do the thing. But you're looking at past, that's moral relativism. If you're seeing just because it was good in the past and it's bad today, that is moral relativism. I'm seeing not only is it evil to do it today, but it was evil to do it in the past. And yes, I'm judging those people in the past that did those things as morally evil. But you're
basing it off of the society that Jesus built. You have an objective morality based off the Christian society. People have sex with children in other places. If you're telling me that our biological nature says that we shouldn't have sex with children, you're sorely mistaken. Because if this is an evolution trait, then why do people want to have sex with children, man? There's lots of people that want to have sex with children. Why do they exist from your perspective? Objective morality is built in our society because of Jesus, not because of evolution. Killing to take, right? This is a principle from Jesus, not objective morality. There's nothing in humanity that would suggest it's wrong to have sex with who you want, to take what you want. This is humanity's nature, and this is why we need God, and this is why evil's in the world as well.
You're making the naturalistic fallacy. You're saying because it's natural, it's okay to do that, unless God somehow gives you divine commandment based on his subjective nature. That is the naturalistic fallacy. I'm saying the morality is an emergent property of humanity, of the species that exists. We look at other animals and we see moral character in other animals. This is a biological fact of social species that exists within nature. And I can know that it is evil for that to do the thing. I'm not borrowing it from Christianity. I've never been a Christian my entire life. I've never believed that God has existed. Now, that's not to say you can't learn moral lessons from the Bible. I believe you can. But you totally ignored my argument. You never addressed the question, why in this century, after all this time, after Jesus came, after 1900 years after Jesus came, did his church allowed his church leaders to hide that scandal? Why did he create us with the nature? If anything, you're proving my argument that in the past, God created us with a nature where we would do evil things, where we'd eat other people, where we would fight and kill and tear, just like all other animals in nature, the predator and the prey. And morality is about deliberating between what is right and wrong based on rationality and reason, not based on what's in our nature.
Okay, so you just said there's a lot there, but you said animals display compassion. Do animals rape? Do animals kill?
Yes.
Do animals kill for fun? Do they rape for fun? Do animals do that? Right. So
I don't know if they rape
you're
for fun
basing
or
an
kill for fun
evolutionary trait
because
off something that's false, right? Hold on, just let me keep going because I was
you
just
asked me a question.
so
Sorry.
I know it's sorry. So and then as well, you're saying you've never been a Christian, so you're not bound to the confines of the teaching of Jesus. But what I'm saying is you're basing your objective morality on a society that was built through the teachings of Jesus. This is why you don't live in another part of the world where having sex with 12-year-olds is acceptable. And believe me, over there it's completely fine. They don't see anything wrong with it, right? Well, here it's frowned upon because we live in a society built by Jesus of objective morality, right? That's why Jesus says one day the laws will be written on their heart. And as far as the church, to answer your question, as far as the church doing all these nasty, evil things, that's nothing. Like Jesus says, if you love me, keep my sayings. He says, show love for one to another. That's how people will know you belong to me. So show me where the Catholic Church having sex with people or harming people or killing witches or whatever they did through history has anything to do with the teachings of Jesus. You're connecting two things that don't need to be connected. The Bible is one thing, and that's why they hid the Bible. Right? They didn't hide the Bible because they were worried people would read it and think it's stupid. They hid the Bible because they knew people would read it and see it's right. Just like if you look at the changes that happened in the 1800s after the printing press, what was the number one Bible book in every home? It was the Bible. In 1820, they gave Bibles to every home, and then in the 1800s, we start to see the changes in all the denominations because people started reading the Bible. We see slavery abolished. We see all these miraculous changes in the 1800s when the printing press boomed and the Bible was in everybody's home because people got the words of Jesus, not because the Bible was stupid, because the Bible was correct and good, and Jesus was a lot different than he was portrayed, like the Catholic Church. Your example.
It's because we learned from the lessons of the great writers, a lot of secular writers, not necessarily atheists, but secular writers about morality, government, and stuff like that throughout that whole area. We borrowed it from those traditions, not from the Bible, because the Bible doesn't teach us how to run a government. A Bible doesn't teach us what age we ought to get married. It doesn't teach us that. Like you don't get that from the Bible.
Yes, but it teaches us humanity and compassion for others. It teaches us to treat others how you would want to be treated. If you're a child, you don't want some grown person having sex with you. Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Judge by which measure you would be judged yourself. These are principles of the Bible that we base our government on, we base our society on, our objective morality on. It's all the Bible. We didn't steal it from anybody except for Jesus. Jesus is the one that revolutionized the Western world. And that's proven by looking at other places in the world that don't have Jesus.
Just forgot. Before we go any further, thanks for your patience, folks. I had the mic on mute there. But before we go any further, I have something big to share about. I'll do that later. I'll explain later. We are going to go into the Q&A shortly. If you have any questions, folks, fire them into the live chat. Tag me with @ModernDayDebate. And you could also put in a super chat, which pushes your question to the top of the list for the Q&A. We do have a little bit of time before we go into the Q&A, though, so I don't want to rush it, as you guys haven't really even had maybe about 50 minutes total. So going about an hour's worth, maybe we have another 10 minutes or so. Any final topics you do want to cover before we go to the Q&A?
Did you have anything, Ozien?
I mean, well, we could talk about Old Testament cosmology too, but I don't want to make this into a flat Earth debate because I'm not going to argue for flat Earth.
No, I was supposed to say that. What about the laryngeal nerve?
Well, let me respond really quick to that.
Sure, go ahead.
Your thing, really quick. I just want to see. I think all of that is best explained under moral progress and moral naturalism. That as we look at the world, as we understood the world better, as we understood human psychology better, as we understood what the nature of suffering and harm was in the world around us, is when our morality and how we started treating others in the world better. So it was our progress when it came to knowledge. And yes, I agree with the Catholic Church, a lot of credit in Europe to maybe the Roman Empire would have created it, but it got taken over by the Catholic Church and dysphoria happened. I have a lot of stuff to say about that. We won't get into that, but that's all I wanted to say. I think that's all best explained under naturalism. But we could talk about what did you want to talk about?
The laryngeal nerve. You know what that is?
No,
I won't get into it if you don't know.
but if it's not about if God exists or not, so let's
Well, it
say
is.
God.
It's some evidences, but if you don't know what it is, it's no point.
I don't think any natural explanation is evidence of God. If it is, then that's falsification. So let me touch on this really quickly. Anytime you make an argument that is a natural explanation for God, now you've given a falsification method for God. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so if people are justified in believing the theory of evolution is true, then they're justified in denying your claim for God. Not denying God exists, because I don't agree that your argument's the best argument for God. I think there's much better arguments for God, just as the fine-tuning and strong anthropic principle is a much better argument, and principle of sufficient reason and stuff like that. And then you get into special and general revelation. To me, that's a much stronger argument for Christianity and the God than trying to say that evolution is false.
Well, things like that are rejected by atheists, but you're right. Fine tuning is the best argument. It's unexplainable. It's miraculous, but it's just rejected as right. So that's why I don't bring things like that up, because it's just there's a lot of things that are rejected. So I like to get into things that you yourself share a worldview with, right?
No,
that's why the evolution thing. But you believe in evolution, right? So
I accept it. Wait. So you don't know me, but let's start over again. I am an atheist, which is I believe that God does not exist. So under atheism is a proposition that God does not exist, and I'm an atheist who believes that proposition is true. Now I also accept that there's other definitions for atheists a lot of people use. So I am all in favor. I just favor the weak anthropic principle is true, rather than strong anthropic principle is true. And so there's no way to both of those claims are unfalsifiable, so there's no way to prove if the strong anthropic principle or the weak anthropic principle is true. I would have respected your argument much better if you had taken that argument than trying to falsify evolution. That is one of the theories that we have. It's the most justified. Like your misunderstanding of evolution is not a refutation of evolution. And if you want to debate evolution, you should get something like, what's her fate? Gustik? I can't remember her name. James could say. Gustik?
evolution.
Gutsick
Gibbon. Evolution is not justified. You don't even know what the laryngeal nerve is. You're trying to tell me that a speciation. You wanted to dance around the whole topic of what evolution is. So you're not the best person to be saying whether evolution has a lot of evidence for it or not, because you demonstrated today, sir, that you don't even know any of it.
I just said that if you want to debate evolution, debate the experts, because
get her on. Get Gutsick Gibbon on.
What I do know is that you straw-manned evolution. I know enough about evolution to know that you don't know anything about evolution.
No, you don't. You don't know nothing.
Yes, I do, because no one claims transitional fossils like a species that's half dog,
because they don't exist. Because they don't exist. That's why they don't exist.
No,
they don't want to. They want to forget about transitional fossils, and they want to say what you said. You're the claim that all the atheist leaders make, right? They say, "Oh, my mom's a transitional fossil." I hear that all the time. It's ridiculous. Transitional fossils need to be here. Darwin knew it because it's true, not because he's an authority, because he was correct about it. He knew.
Lying.
It's not a lie
about it being an
you don't even know what
claim.
A transitional fossil is.
First of all, it's not an atheist claim. It's a science claim. Most theists that exist in the world, almost all of them, accept that evolution is true.
Because they don't.
So it's not an atheist claim. It's a claim that most people accept in the world is true. Stop saying it's an atheist claim. It's not an atheist claim. There are atheists that reject evolution. It's not an atheist claim.
Like who? Give me an atheist that rejects evolution.
People I've met on Discord, it doesn't matter who in particular it is.
Because they don't exist.
I know there are people that do not accept evolution. There are people that believe the earth is flat, that they're atheists. They don't accept evolution. They believe it's a simulation theory. I know
Earth is
atheists who
flat as-
believe I know atheists who believe in simulation theory. Do you not understand what that is?
They think we're in a simulation. Yeah, sure, but
Yes.
but that's just another answer for God. Like, that's not atheistic. They're believing
That's
in a
not
God. They're just
God.
it is. Oh, I believe in
No.
a simulation programmed by some 12-year-old
It
kid in his
doesn't
basement.
matter what
But God's
your
ridiculous. Like,
understanding is. Your understanding is wrong. Simulation theory is not theism. It's a different claim.
it's
But
a
it
claim
doesn't
that we're in a simulation driven by some sort of exterior intelligence, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But
So it's a theist claim, man.
you're using a broad definition of theism that most people in philosophy of religion would not use for theism. But beside the point, those are atheists that don't accept evolution as true.
They believe in theism. That's why they're theists. They
No, they're
believe in
not.
an
You're
exterior
claiming they're
intelligence
theism. That's not what
drives the
theism
universe.
means, but besides the point,
It is. It's a type of theism, man. They believe
No.
an exterior intelligence is driving the universe,
that's not what
created
theism
them, and organizing everything so that they can exist inside. This is theism. They're not atheists. Atheists all believe in
No.
evolution. Whether they believe aliens dropped us off or whatever, it's always evolution
nothing
theory.
about
It's an
simulation.
atheistic idea.
There's nothing about simulation theory that requires some type of entity that created it either.
So
But
how does
that's a different
simulation
thing.
how does simulation theory happen without an intelligence?
There's bizarre arguments for it. So I don't get into them because I think they're absurd, because I'm a naturalist. I believe everything is natural. But so I don't get into the simulation theory arguments. But it doesn't matter to the claim. So evolution is not an atheist argument. So claiming it is,
It absolutely is, sir.
it is not. Then are you telling all the Christians watching here right now that
They're indoctrinated by the
Christians?
atheistic ideas. Yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
don't know
So
what it
they're-
is. They don't look
they're
into
true-
it. They just that their
hear
lords in
that?
white shiny coats tell them what to
Hear
believe,
that?
right? Because that's what
Yeah.
evolutionists do. Is they
Yeah.
believe a book. They believe people like Gutsick Gibbon who tells them these things, and then they preach it. And they don't understand. Like you said, you don't know what the laryngeal nerve is. You didn't know that a single cell organism transforms into a giraffe. But yet you're here
They
and you
don't.
believe in evolution. You preach it, right? This is what those Christians are doing as well.
Do I preach it? No, I don't. Do I accept it's true? Yes, I do.
Exactly.
Do I argue
That's preaching it.
evolution? No, I don't, because I don't understand evolution. That's not preaching it. You're making equivocation fallacy about words, which is fallacious reasoning, because you're using a word preaching that doesn't mean what it says, because I'm not preaching it, because I specifically said I don't understand it. What I do understand is that you don't
Why do you believe it
understand
then? Why do you believe something you
I
don't
accept it
understand?
because
Why?
I accept testimonial evidence for claims to have
Exactly. So what
from
so
people that I trust.
why do you trust them?
Because that's
Why?
sufficient reason to trust their testimony is true.
It's sufficient to believe something that you have no evidence for, no justification for, other than somebody
There is
told you
evidence
something.
for it.
Why are
And
you
the
arguing
reason-
against theism, man? You're in the same boat as what you accuse theists of. Believing
I
things
have-
without evidence, right?
No, when did I ever make that argument? When did
You
I
just
ever
said
make
you
the
don't
argument?
understand it, but you believe it because you
When-
trust other people's words.
I don't-
That's exactly what
Because
you
I'm
said.
not stupid enough to claim that evolution falsifies
Oh,
God.
so exactly, right? So people that do understand it and don't agree with it are stupid, but
wait.
you don't understand it,
That's
but
not
you're
what
not
I
stupid.
said.
Where's the logic in that?
Wait, I said I'm not stupid enough to make an argument that says that evolution falsifies God. So I don't study evolution because I don't use it to falsify God.
Why do you believe it?
My arguments for evolution have nothing, my arguments for atheism have nothing to do with evolution being true.
So why do you believe in something that you can't,
Why?
you have no
Did you hear
idea
that?
about?
Recognize what I said.
I
My
did. I understand what
arguments
you're
for
saying. You're not
evolution- for
arguing for it,
atheism-
therefore you don't need to know about it. That's what you're saying.
My-
But then on
no.
the same,
My
on the same-
argument for atheism is not contingent upon evolution being true. Your argument for theism is contingent upon evolution being false.
a natural explanation is your position as an atheist. Right? You
Yes.
take the stance as an atheist that
Not
a
all
naturalistic
atheists.
position must exist. Evolution is the only explanation for a nat. So hence, yes, it is an atheistic position. One day, if they have some more evolutionary ideas, like something different, weirder than that, maybe other people will accept that. But today it is an atheistic idea because it's being used to drive God out of our society through lies. It's an atheistic idea. It's a religious idea is truly what it is. You just admitted you have no basis to believe it. You don't understand it, but yet you're on here admitting that you believe it because the science. That's preaching, my friend. But you have no good reason to believe it.
That's false. I gave a basis for believing it, for accepting it's true. I gave a basis. What was my basis for accepting it's true?
Because other people told you. Lords in white shiny coats.
That's false. That's false. So you're strong in my argument.
Okay.
So you didn't listen. So you didn't listen.
I did listen. You did say that, man. You did say that.
And did I ever say that testimonial evidence wasn't evidence for anything? Did I ever say that?
No, I never said you did.
Well, yeah, you did earlier.
Okay, I'm a Christian and I have a testimony. Do you believe it?
I accept that it's evidence for your claim that God exists.
But it's not evidence for you.
It's better evidence than you trying to say that evolution falsifies God.
See, you're just attacking you don't even know what evolution is. So how can you understand my argument if you don't even understand what I'm saying? You don't understand. You're saying the transitional
allele frequency over time. It doesn't matter. But
so what? Okay, exactly. Allele frequency transitions over time. So where is the species transitions in between? Because allele frequencies are small little changes. They're not big, giant. You're acting as if one day your mom was an amoeba. That's how you're acting, right?
No.
That's not the way things work, right? So where is these changes?
It doesn't work that way, correct?
It does work that way. Things have to crawl out of the water onto the ground, and then change by change, they got to get this limb and that limb, and you're going to have these species.
Watching this,
evolution teaches that the snail outran the wolf. That's exactly what evolution teaches.
Anybody watching this, first of all, if you're watching this, I don't study evolution. I'm not expert in evolution. What he's seeing is false. Evolution does see small changes over a long period of time.
Yeah, I just said it did. Where's the fossils?
There's no half species, no such thing as some half species. Everything is a species that can reproduce its own species. Speciation is about if they can cross-produce, if they can produce together to create offsprings. That's all it is. Speciation takes many generations. There's all different types of reasons why different species change species. I know this is true. There are reasons why the species will not change species because of their environment they live in, put pressures on them to maintain their species, where evolutions to different species where they couldn't crossbreed wouldn't happen over a period of time. So there's other environmental factors that put pressure on to kill some of them off to cause speciation to happen. I understand part of it, but I'm not an expert on evolution. Get somebody here who is. But everything you're describing about what we would expect for evolution is what the theory of evolution says. It was said small changes over generations. The transitional species that we're talking about are just fossils of actual species.
No, they're not, man. You just said it. Small changes over time. You know what a picture book is? Do you know what that is? Picture book?
Yes,
they used to make cartoons. Yeah, you know what that is. So get a picture book. Awesome. So get a picture book, an empty one, and I want you to start off with a single cell, and by the end of it, I want you to have a giraffe. And I want you to flip through the book and go, stop, and tell me where that fossil is.
Tree of life. So I got to the tree of life.
No, I know what the tree of life is. You're missing the entire point, man. Yeah, I don't understand why people can't understand the changes that you admit small changes. You admit it. No, this is you, man. You admit there's small changes over time. You even said allele frequency, small, little, tiny changes. Yes. But then I ask you, where's the evidence in the fossil record of small changes over time? And you go, boom, it's big changes. What are you talking about, man? It's a species.
I'll give you the evidence.
That's what you're doing. You're saying one thing, but then you're evidence for what?
The evidence of a theory in science is its ability to make predictions, right? Yeah. The evidence of a theory in science is ability to make predictions. So we made predictions about where we would expect to find some inner transitional species, and we went to go look at that. And we went to go look at that fossil record, and we found them.
Tiktaalik. Now go look up a kimono dragon's a skull, man. Go look up these people are like so this is a fallacy. You're drawing a target
So
and you're shooting you're shooting then you're drawing the target. It's a sharpshooter fallacy. And this is exactly what evolution does. We're going to find this transition fish to land, and they go out and they come back with a kimono dragon. Look up a kimono dragon, man. It's the exact same. It's the exact same structure as that creature, but they come back and they go, look, it's exactly what we were after. You know, that's the thing. Evolution, and people like you buy it. People are like, you're like, yeah, kimono dragons
accept testimony just like you do. You don't accept testimony because you
don't accept testimony. No.
Why were you reading articles, scientific journals and articles, and it's saying it was true about
because these things are observable.
Wait. No. Let me finish the question.
It's observable.
Let me finish the question. Did you accept the testimony about the slime molds that you watched?
No, I observed it myself. I watched videos on the slime mold acting. Yes, I did. You can go on YouTube and you can watch. Yes, you can, man. You can watch lectures and you can watch
testimony.
No, it's not. It's a demonstration.
They
demonstrate that the slime mold is doing what they're claiming it's doing.
The testimonial, then.
You don't understand the difference between a testimony and observable evidence. Observing something is different than someone telling you.
It's not observation. You didn't go
there. When you observe something, sir, that's observation.
How do you know they didn't fake it?
How do I know they didn't fake the slime mold? Doing what it's, well, I suppose in that sense, yes, I'm accepting a testimony based on that.
Thank you.
But sure. But the point is they could be lying, and the whole thing could be a lie. It wouldn't put it past me. Right?
But do you have reason to trust them? Do you have reason to trust their testimony?
I have reason to trust enough people are showing me something I can observe.
Okay.
That's where I trust it, right? If enough people are saying they're doing these experiments and I can observe these things happening for myself, right? But with evolution, it's a different thing. You're not observing anything happen for you. No, you're not observing anything. They're telling you that they did something and then you're just accepting it. You don't have to look. Same with Tiktaalik. Did you ever look up a kimono dragon's fossil? Or did you just accept Tiktaalik?
That's called apophenia. So are you prone to, do you believe vaccines work?
Maybe
we shouldn't talk about that.
Do I believe vaccines work? Yeah, they did.
Okay. Let's not talk about that.
Don't talk
Sorry,
about
that.
Apophenia is this problem where people see patterns, what's the word? People see patterns in things, they'll make connections between certain things. So just because you look at a fossil and it looks like something else doesn't mean it's the same thing. Do we agree? Just because you see a cloud that looks like a dog, does that mean it's a dog?
But just because it's the same idea with the guy that went out to do it. Just because he went out and he found something that he set out to find, does that mean that's what it is? Or does that mean that the kimono dragon looks just like it? It's quite possible. Is it more logical that the kimono dragon that looks like the object is the object, or that it's a shapeshifter? What's more logical here?
You're seeing it look the same. It doesn't mean it is the same. They can do other type of tests.
You can match them.
So
what kind of tests are they going to do? What kind of tests? Radiometric dating, and they go, oh, it's carbon dating, or and they go, oh, it's a billion years old. There you go.
Remember, you deny radiometric dating too. You think it's
because it's not true. Prove it to me. Change my mind.
I don't have to prove it to you.
The burden of proof is on you. You're claiming it works, right?
So
I'm taking the negative position.
Do you deny? No, you're taking the positive position.
I'm taking the negative position, sir. You're claiming it works, and I'm saying there's no evidence.
You're taking the positive position.
No, it's not. There's no evidence for radiometric dating.
So are you saying that radiometric dating is true, that God doesn't exist?
What?
If radiometric dating is true, does God exist?
Yes.
Okay, then why are we talking about it?
Okay, fine, fair enough.
If the way evolution is describing transitional species is what we mean by transitional species, if it's true that what they see is true, does that mean God doesn't exist?
No, but it means God was right. That was the argument that I was bringing forth with that. Is the Bible explains evolution theory better than evolution theory from an atheistic or scientific perspective? Yes, it does. There's no fossils.
Where does the Bible give any There's no such thing as like interspecies things in evolution. Where does the Bible give you the theory of evolution? Where does it say that? Where does it say that? Where's the predictive power?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So let's start with abiogenesis. Did all life forms begin in water? Is that how it happened?
We don't know.
Well, according to abiogenesis.
We don't know according to biogenesis.
It had to be water, man. You don't
How do
even
you know?
because there's nothing else. DNA,
do we have a
RNA would
theory?
deteriorate in any other environment.
Do we have
RNA
a
would
the-
deteriorate in water too. You know, there
Do
is
we-
no
wait.
explanation.
Do we have a theory of abiogenesis yet?
They have a hypothesis. Yeah,
They have several hypotheses, right?
it's all the
Several.
same thing. It all started in a pond. Some say pond, some
No.
say electricity, some say water. Show me an abiogenesis doesn't start in water. Let's try that.
Maybe it did start in water. I'm saying we don't know because we don't have a theory of abiogenesis. So I don't make any positive. The only positive claim I make about life from non-life is it was natural. And if you believe the strong anthropic principle is true, you would believe it was natural also. That God just caused the first event.
I believe it was natural. Like, I believe God created these correlations of events, but God doing whatever God did to get it done. I don't think God was in with a lab coat telling people evolution's real, but I think he was definitely the one that orchestrated it. So if you want to talk about it as a natural sense from that, he used his creation to create something. That's what the Bible describes. God said he didn't do nothing. He didn't build anything. He said.
Then theistic versus atheistic evolution, not that it really is a dichotomy because evolution itself is just science. But from a naturalistic explanation for evolution versus a theistic explanation of evolution, both of them are unfalsifiable claims. So we don't get any closer to if God exists based on evolutionary theory. I think so that isn't a good argument. It's why no one in serious debates would ever use. It's usually like lay people debates that I watch where they bring up evolution as an argument that God exists.
Yeah, you just don't understand it. It's a fantastic argument because you
understand.
have no
It's a horrible
you
argument.
don't even know what transitional fossil is, man. You think by insulting me it's going to excuse your ignorance here. But the fact of the matter is you don't understand what I'm saying.
Stupid argument.
You don't understand what a transitional fossil is, and you don't understand that we don't have any.
What's
and
a
that
transitional
debunks
fossil?
evolution. A transitional fossil.
Can it give
birth?
birth?
It's not your mom. Can it give birth? It should be able to multiply. Yes.
Does it give birth to the same species that it is?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, that's all evolution says.
Yes, but evolution says that speciation changes. So one single cell that's able to self-replicate is going to be a giraffe that's able to self-replicate. That's what evolution says. You're acting as if evolution is just an innocent little guy that says, one species sticks with one species. No, it doesn't. It says one thing shapeshifts to another. It does. It's shape-shifting. It's shape-shifting. It absolutely is. One organism shapeshifts to another, or you don't understand evolution, man. I don't understand why you believe it. Why do you believe something that you can't comprehend?
Don't understand it.
No, you don't, man. Does a single cell turn into a giraffe?
You're saying evolution falsifies God, so then I should believe that your explanation for God is false. You're just seeing the scientific explanation is false, is all you're saying.
I'm saying the Bible explains what we observe and the genetics and the fossil records and every aspect of evolution. God explains it better in the Bible than supposed atheistic science.
You're just telling all the Christians that believe in evolution they're not true Christians.
No, they can believe whatever they want. I never said that at all. I never said they weren't true Christians. They're misguided in their information. That has nothing to do with their love for Jesus, man. Absolutely nothing. So don't say
they're not misguided. They're just accepting.
They're misguided. They're believing what they're told. That's it. They're not thinking for themselves.
And they should take your word because of your expertise in evolution.
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't take my word or yours or any scientist. They should look into it themselves. That's what I did. I used to be a creationist evolutionist.
You don't have the expertise to look into it. Are you kidding?
Every single person. See, that's how brainwashed you are. Every single person has the expertise to look into any claim. Any claim, especially in the era of knowledge. How ignorant does one have to be in the era of knowledge to go, hey, we're too stupid to look into anything.
Do you know what the first derivative of 3x to the third power is?
No.
Then you don't know everything. You have to have certain
I never
levels
said
of
I
knowledge.
know everything. See, you're straw manning me here big time, man.
Let me finish. You have to have certain levels of knowledge to engage in certain subjects. That's all I meant. Evolution, we can get a basic understanding of evolution. I have a basic understanding of evolution. To become an expert on evolution takes dedication, like it does for any vocation anybody takes up in life. You only have so much life to become an expert in any vocation. You rely upon the testimony of other people and their expertise in their given domain. And we work together as a civilization to make the world better, to make sure the Euphrates River doesn't dry up by 2040.
I agree, but we should be having discussions. We shouldn't just have people mocking people that don't believe in evolution and saying, "Oh, you don't follow." I'm not saying you. I'm saying and saying you don't believe in the science. When the truth of the matter is, if you look into evolution, anybody's capable of looking into evolution, especially with the computers these days. Everybody has the capability. There's no excuse. There's no excuse to say I believe something that you have no evidence for.
But we
live in an era where it's ridiculous.
You don't go to a Christian website. You go to the places that
I don't look. I don't go to Answers to Genesis. I don't read any of those websites, man. I never read them.
Go to
they don't interest
me. Ra's channel. Go to.
I do. I watch Aaron Ra a lot.
He has a good explanation for the whole tree of life stuff.
I do. I watch these guys.
Well,
that's how I'm able. That's how I'm able to find these ideas to
James
go and falsify. But nobody. Oh, sorry, James. I can't tell it was you. I can't see you.
No problem. This is a good opportunity. We can jump into the Q&A, unless you guys had any last thoughts on that. But it sounds like we're ready to jump into it. I want to say, folks, thanks very much for your questions. I'm going to read through these. And as mentioned, if you tag me in the live chat, that's one way you can submit questions. Otherwise, you can send in a super chat as those questions go to the top of the list as we go through these. Joshua Jamie, thanks very much. Said, consciousness is your awareness of those choices. This came early in the debate, so if that gives a clue in terms of the context.
I think that's the slime mold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the slime mold.
So that's the definition of consciousness is like you said, the self-awareness. This is what we have defined it as because this is what we understand it as because we've never observed anything aside from a brain or what we understand about the anatomy that is responsible for these ideas like problem solving and thinking, memory. These things are all associated with the brain. So yes, consciousness is defined as self-awareness, but that's because we've never had an example otherwise until slime mold, and which is bringing the whole thing to question. What is consciousness? That's the issue. Where does it come from?
I agree. It's a good question, and it may be slime molds are self-aware, because we don't fully understand them, but I don't. It's not reducible to energy. Was my whole argument.
You got it. This one coming in from, do appreciate your question as well. Joshua Jamie strikes again, says, we don't need God to make guidelines against harmful behaviors. It happens in every social animal. I think that's for you, evidence of God.
Yeah, so the world demonstrates the opposite. So there are animals that show love and compassion, yes, but this is the nature of God in them because the majority of animals will not show that way. The majority of animals in the wild will do what they need to do to survive. And as far as what I said before about the society was based on Jesus. This is why we have objective morality. I'm not saying that you can't come to these conclusions without Jesus. I'm saying this is the way the world went. And when you go to societies that don't have Jesus, it's pretty apparent that our society is based off Christianity.
You got it. This one from JAM84 says, Ozien, given that God is by definition a spirit, how much sense does it make to decide whether he exists using your 5 physical senses?
All I have are my senses to understand that God exists. I don't think I was making an empirical claim about if God exists or not. I use reasoning, rationality. Now, all my argument is that I exist, the external world exists, and all examples of causation I've ever experienced has been natural. So I think I'm justified in believing that naturalism is true, and that is sort of a humble claim that I can explain the world around us using naturalism. If naturalism is true, it means supernatural entities don't exist, and God is supernatural entity. So therefore, God doesn't exist. So all people would have to show me is a reason for God to exist, and it's based on values. Like I don't value like principle of proportional causality. People can go look up like intentionality and stuff like that. So there's arguments for God that are compelling that I just don't find compelling because of the values I have.
You got it. Any thoughts on that evidence of God? We'll jump to the next one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Unless you had anything.
No, I'm good.
Joshua
That's a good answer.
Jamie says, fossils are extremely rare. The fact that you're asking for every form of an animal as a fossil is ludicrous.
So yeah. Oh, is that it, James?
Yes.
Yeah. So my point with the transitional fossils is, with all the changes throughout species, like as species transform into other species, there is minute changes, like small changes within the genetics. So we should observe these creatures that are not there. They would be their own species in the sense that they produce under their own species, but we would see things with weird limbs, useless points to their anatomy. It's the only way it could be if you had a single cell transforming into a land creature from the water. You're going to have little things that are useless and not helpful. And that's why I say evolution teaches that the snail outran the wolf, because in the fossil records, all we have is very productive, healthy species suited to their environment perfectly. And we don't see small, minute changes throughout their existence in the fossil records. That's my point there.
Sir Courage Wolf says, ask our guests what the... Go ahead.
Can I respond to that real quick?
Yeah.
There's a lot of useless organs in humans. The appendix, there's a plica semilunaris, body hair, wisdom teeth, or there's certain muscles around the ear. Lots of useless organs in humans.
So the appendix isn't useless. See, a lot of these things that we
one
think,
example.
A lot of these things that we think are useless, we later find out that they're not useless. They're very productive. And as far as like something like wisdom teeth, well, wisdom teeth are useless, but this isn't an evolutionary thing. This is a diet thing, right? We've changed our diets. We've changed the way we eat. We've changed our facial structures over the years from making these changes. So this is something that humans intervene. This isn't an evolutionary trait. In fact, wisdom teeth should show that evolution isn't as productive as you claim it is, because why do we have these teeth that are killing us all? Because we've changed our facial structure through our own lifestyle changes. Evolution should be adapting in accordance with evolution theory, right?
Why do males have nipples? Why do males have nipples?
Maybe males gave milk at one point. Like, why wouldn't they? I don't know. Why wouldn't they have nipples? How can you show that males didn't give milk? They didn't breastfeed at one point. You know, males can breastfeed. There's certain hormones that a male can lactate.
Can Ozien breastfeed someone?
No, there are supplements trans women will take to be able to.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't miss that. Yeah, men can breastfeed. Absolutely, it's healthy too. Like, it's a certain hormone. There's not just trans people. There's people that take medications.
Can be healthy.
Yeah,
and there are men that, but sometimes it's like sometimes you have a disorder that actually cause like cancer. Some men get breast cancer that makes them.
It's a hormone thing. Yeah, it's a hormone thing. Yeah. So the changes in the hormone medications induce it, but at different environments and diets, maybe men did breastfeed. I know it's weird to think.
Sir Courage Wolf. Oh, we got a super chat just came in. Violentix says, if we're not created by a god and we're just a cosmic accident, why should we love someone if we are created by matter and energy if it's not conscience? I think they mean conscious, but I'm not sure.
I'll just say maybe the question is, why should we love each other if evolution is true? I'll just answer that question. That makes sense. Am I steel man in that?
That sounds fine.
Okay, so why should we love each other? Because I think we evolved to have psychology, and part of that is emotions, to build bonds with each other. Because one of the things about, for evolution to work, we have to procreate and have children. And so we're a social species that collaborate to protect each other, to be able to have offspring. And if you look at us, like our bodies start going downhill after like 30 years old. Isn't that right, James? Anyways, and that's like...
That's funny. Very funny. Terrible. This one coming in from, another one just flew in. Ain't My First Radio. Thanks very much for your question. Says, God is true. Genesis account is 100% accurate. Anyone who doesn't get that is ignorant about the facts. Wow. So they are coming in strong. Ozien, I think they're talking about you.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up.
But... I would say he's telling most Christians in the world. Now, U.S. is a little different. U.S. has a weird Protestant movement, not midline Protestants or normal, but that reject they think Genesis is historical in the United States, but most Christians across the world don't take the Genesis account as historical. When I grew up, I went to a Catholic school in kindergarten, and that's where I learned I was an atheist from the priest there. But it's sort of funny story. But most Christians don't believe it's like true, like historically true. So you're just saying most Christians are fake Christians. I don't agree.
This one
I
from. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that my original opening was the creation story. I think it's 100% accurate, so I agree with that. I changed it, but it is absolutely an accurate depiction of what we can understand and observe.
You got it. This one coming in from Joshua Jamie just sent this in. Says mudkippers are actually fish with limbs. Say stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Evidence of God. Would you like to
Yes.
respond?
Yeah, so they are fish that go on land, but they go back in the water, and they use their anatomy for the mud, right? It's a productive species to what it is, right? So yes, it has limbs, and that's a stage that you would have to go through for sure, but that doesn't show a transitional fossil because they're productive to their environment, right? Throughout the changes of evolution, eventually that fish, if it were to continue, eventually we would see some very useless limbs on it, like strange legs in places of the limbs and messed up looking stuff, right? Because evolution isn't this even perfect thing. It's supposedly little changes that adapt, right? There's nothing driving it. So eventually you're going to get these species that have useless limbs that aren't adapted to their species, like the mudfish, who breeds in the mud and goes back to the water, right? That's why it goes out there.
Vestigial limbs, but yeah, but you don't know if they're going to go one way or the other. Like, just because it's evolving to have limbs to walk on land doesn't mean it's not going to evolve back to have flippers. Like, there's no directionality about evolution, whether it's going to become a land creature or an ocean creature or freshwater creature. It's just whatever survives and however it adapts to its environment. That's all evolution is doing.
You got it. Thank you very much. This one coming in from Bitter Truth says evidence of God. Did God create all species?
Yes. God created all kinds, and the kinds after the ark landed, the kinds bred and gave us all the species we see today. You should watch the last debate because I went into depth about this.
Even like the worms that burrow up into kids' eyes from the mud and stuff like that, and God created that for a reason.
Yeah, it burrows up into anybody's eyes, right? You're just using kids to kind of set your point home, right? But yes, these things do. I already explained it's the fallen nature of man, right? Why aren't you out there solving this problem? Why aren't you bringing medications, and why didn't you go to school to become a scientist so that you can solve these problems that you accuse God of being so unjust for?
On naturalism, it's explained. On God, it's not explained. If God exists, there's no reason that God couldn't have put something to protect humans from that species.
But why should he? He put humans to protect humans from that species. That's exactly what he did.
One natural evil from existing.
Yeah, he put humans here to prevent those things from happening to humans.
This one from Acintic says, "Hey, Ozien, do you still think you came from pond scum?"
No, I never. So I had a discussion with a young lady that she explained abiogenesis as coming from pond scum and friction or whatever. So I just was using her argument as a Socratic method, and he just continues to lie about the argument. I said this was a poor analogy. It's not what abiogenesis says. We don't have a theory of abiogenesis says. But even if that explanation is true and abiogenesis has a natural explanation, does that mean God does not exist? And then her phone cut out before she could answer. So, anyways.
You got it.
I've heard evolutionary biologists use the term pond scum for abiogenesis.
I agree.
It's completely reasonable in accordance with that.
I just don't use that as an argument because to me it's sort of I don't like the way science communicators analogize stuff I think they do a very poor job of it.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your generous super chat from Ain't My First Rodeo. It says, I'm a Christian only, follower of Christ only. I am non-denominational, and no, I'm not non-denominational. Or they said, I'm no denomination, and no, I'm not non-denominational. I'm thinking about like logically how this all makes sense and the overlap, things like that. They say Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestant all have some accuracies and some inaccuracies in interpretation. All branches have some forms of godliness. God equals love. Thank you very much for that. I don't know if either of you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with that.
I believe love exists. Some people think that's evidence for God that love exists, and
It's very good.
I just don't find it to be a compelling argument. But
Love is in the air. Violent X says, why do you deny prophecies that are shown right in front of your face? And is science showing that it was prophesied? Are you being ignorant? Ozien, they're coming at you.
dude, there was this guy that I won't say his name, but they have a YouTube channel that predicted that rapture was going to happen on May 19th. You know what I did, James? I made a prediction that rapture was not going to happen on May 19th. So I prophesied that he was going to be wrong, and he was going to send me a jar of pickles. So I'm still waiting on my jar of pickles, but soon it's going to come true. So just because somebody predicts something in the future doesn't mean it was divine. And secondly, it's sort of most of those are post hoc rationalizations. And so I don't know the truth of any of them. I read those prophecies in the Bible, and I don't see where they were fulfilled. So that's just me.
Bitter truth coming at you. EOG says, whale and dolphins have lungs and pelvis and even mammary glands for milk, even have uterus, same as land animal. Did God forget while creating the above?
I don't understand. What did he forget? It's a whale and a dolphin. They're mammals, yeah. So yeah, God created all the great whales after their kind, and yeah, I'm not sure. I don't follow the question there.
They say whales and dolphins have lungs, a pelvis, and even mammary glands for milk, and uterus as well. They say same as land animals, and they say, did God forget while creating the above? I'm trying to think, like, did God forget?
I think he's saying that they're connected somehow. I mean, but that's all I can take from that. But I mean, that doesn't prove anything. There's mammals in the water and mammals on the land. That doesn't prove evolution. If that's
we
what
have transitional records for where whales transition from land animals to ocean animals. So
yeah, they were
we
a
have
fox.
those transitional fossils.
It was a fox at one point, believe it or not.
You're saying it's a fox. No one
That's
else
what it
says
was.
it's a fox.
It was a fox animal.
That's because you're seeing patterns that aren't there.
I'm not saying it was a fox. I'm saying that the animal that they say transitioned to a whale was a fox creature. It looked like a fox. I'm not saying it was. A whale didn't transition from a fox. I'm saying that's what it was. So they want you to believe that a fox creature, a creature that looks like a fox, whether it's a fox or not, a fox creature transitioned to a whale. That's what they would have you believe. And that's rational.
Once again,
but they don't shapeshift, right?
There weren't foxes. They don't shapeshift. And you're seeing patterns, and you're making up your own interpretation of those in patterns, which is not scientific.
Go look up the whale transition. You'll understand what I'm saying. And I know you don't know it.
I understand what you're saying.
That's why you can't follow what I'm saying. But okay.
I understand what you're saying. I can follow what you're saying. You're seeing patterns that aren't there.
Not at all. No,
yes,
whatsoever. You are. You're seeing a fox turning into a whale.
It doesn't look like
evolutionary biologists call it a fox, kind of doggish kind of creature. They are the ones that say that, not me.
Because they suck at explaining things.
Okay, I don't believe it, so I'm going to go by what they say, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
This next one, let me just, you can see there. This one came from Violent X. It says, "What denomination are you? Evidence of God."
I'm non-denomination. But like the other gentleman said before, I think that was a great point. I think there's truth in all the denominations, and there's things I don't agree with, but I think we all love Jesus, and that's what's important. That's what binds us together in the Christian brotherhood and sisterhood.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it right now. It looks nothing like a fox to me. So whatever.
Oh, that's what they say.
You
Fox
see
talk.
fox, I don't see fox.
I don't see it that it even happened, but fair enough.
This one from Ain't My First Rodeo. They strike again, saying evolution is false. We did not evolve from animals. Ozien. We were made in the image of God. Ozien, are
Okay,
you
then go.
convinced?
No, but he can go falsify it if he wants to, and like, good luck.
Yeah, I want to. I'd like to have brought up the chromosome 2 fusion thing, which totally obliterates evolution and shows that intelligence had to intervene. But hopefully, I can do an evolution debate with someone sometime. That'd be a lot of fun.
Great. Yeah, base theory, Grayson. He's very, very good at evolution.
Yeah.
Somebody like that. I'm not into evolution debates, but yeah,
It'd
he
be
would wreck your world in evolution. Just saying.
Well, he believes in magic.
Grayson,
We'll
if
see.
you're watching, like, share, subscribe on Matters
This
Now.
one-
Not this. I'm just kidding.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it, Joshua Jamie says, there is a family that all have 6 fingers. Many cousins, brothers, and sisters. Many of them play guitar.
Cool.
Nice.
Didn't
This one.
expect that. That was good.
This one coming in from Tommy Boy 65. Wondering, is that in reference to the great 1995 comedy with Chris Farley? They say, what is your evidence for the existence of your God? What makes your evidence in particular any different from the Muslim or Mormons or anybody else from a particular religion? Like, in other words, what's your evidence for Christianity per se?
Oh, there's tons of evidence for Christianity. I think the argument that I gave at the start with the Christianity is the only one that explains a pluralistic God that shares all. I won't get into it again, but shares all those same features with what we understand about energy. So I think that is one thing that adds to the discussion, as well as all the scientific. I have a whole list of them here. We didn't get into them because it's it's a fast-paced debate, but there's a ton of evidence. You can check out my channel. I do a lot of that stuff.
I just want to say, I think your interpretation of the Trinity is considered heretical by every denomination I've ever heard explain the Trinity. They don't describe God as the mass or the matter energy equivalency under special relativity.
I didn't explain I showed that the Trinity shares similarities to this equation. I didn't explain the Trinity. God is the eternal being. Jesus, the Son, is the flesh, the body, the resurrected body, and the Holy Spirit is acting in our lives in accordance with after Jesus ascended to heaven. I understand the Trinity very well, a lot better than you understand evolution. Okay. Yeah.
This one
I
coming in
never
from.
claimed it.
This is we have some pep in his step. Thank you very much. From Ain't My First Rodeo says, bring it on. I will falsify evolution. And Joshua Jamie says, do you understand how rare it is for an animal to die in a situation where it actually would even become fossilized, especially one with a deformity, namely an animal with deformity?
So that's my whole point when I say that the snail outran the wolf, because that's exactly it. You would have to assume that all these trillions of productive species that got trapped in volcanic eruptions and mudslides and floods, all these species that got trapped while these little guys flopped away from it, and we can't find even one, right? That's the point. I understand fossilization is not something that happens easily, but the fact is we have trillions of it because it happened in the flood. But if evolution were true, we should have a lot more transitional fossils than we do productive species, hence exactly what Darwin said.
Bitter truth, says James. I would love the debate with evidence of God, please. That's a possibility. You can email me. I know you got my email. I could have sworn I tried to set something up, and I might be wrong on who this is, but I thought maybe you said you didn't want to use a camera or something. We are getting a little bit more strict on that, although I will say Heated Debates, if you guys remember him, popular Hindu debater, will be back on shortly. We give him a pass. If frankly, to be completely candid, if you have a huge following, we'll break the rule. Like if PewDiePie asks, what was it, Ozien?
I thought I debated with Bitar. Maybe it was somebody else.
Bitter truth? I'm not sure. Not on here, I don't think. I
Yeah, it
don't
was
think we've had
somebody
him on here,
else.
but
Yeah.
this one from Joshua Jamie says the six-fingered family was not a joke. It's a family in Brazil covered by BBC Earth, and many do play instruments. Okay, wow. So it was not a joke. The
Oh,
family and all the members of the family, or at least many of them, a majority of them, have six fingers.
yeah. They did a bunch of stories. AP, BBC did a bunch of stories about them.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
that?
that's
Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, no, that's I mean, genetic deformities, especially through inbreeding. I mean, this is something
Wait,
that's very common. Which
why do you think that's
evolution theory, I
inbreeding?
mean, why oh, it's not through inbreeding? Are
Why
you
do you
sure
think
about
it's
that?
genetic deformity and inbreeding? It's just
Because six fingers is usually associated with genetic. Humans don't have six fingers. We have five. So when you get a human with six fingers, it's a genetic deformity in accordance with humanity, right?
why is it a no? The like a deformity would be if it makes them better at what they do, like playing guitars, it's actually a benefit,
A deformity has nothing to do with a
beneficial.
beneficial or
You're,
pro or con.
you're
It has to do with the fact that it's out of the norm of the
yeah, out of the
species,
norm.
out of
Sure.
the norm of the species. That's a genetic deformity. Whether it's good or not
I
is
wouldn't
irrelevant.
call it deformity, but
Some people
whatever.
have, some people could have three
Are
arms.
they
I mean, that's
humans?
still a genetic deformity.
Are
It's
they
productive.
humans?
Yes, they're still humans. That's
And
exactly
they
why it's a genetic deformity because they're
could it
humans.
be the case that eventually if there was enough people with six fingers, they went off on their own island, eventually over thousands of generations, they can no longer breed with other humans?
Uh, I don't know. Perhaps we'd have to wait and
It
see.
isn't there case between kinds where different kinds, even under your own view, can't breed
Well,
between each
people
other and produce offspring?
see, genetic changes happen. So if things can't breed with each other, so if you can watch my last video, the last debate, or actually go to my channel and watch what is a biblical kind. I explain all that. I'm not going to get into it all now,
Well,
but
you
yeah,
can't just answer that really quick, yes or no. Is
I
it
just
true?
did. I just did. Species can stop breeding. That doesn't. So a human is still a human if they can't breed. There's probably humans today that can't breed with it. We see things with blood types. A lot of people with certain blood types can't breed with each other. It causes miscarriages, and some people can't do it
We're
at
not
all.
talking about blood
We
types.
are.
We're talking about
We're
no.
talking about exactly
We're
what you just said. I'm giving
we're
you an
not
example
talking.
of how that happens.
Well, we're not talking about just blood types in
You're
specific
talking about
cases.
something that's
We're
not
talking
real. I'm
about a
talking about something.
specific. We're talking about hypotheticals, a specific group of people that could diverge from the overall species, where eventually they can't interbreed with the other group of people, and they eventually become a different species. Is
Yes, and
that possible under your view?
I'm saying that we don't need hypotheticals because that's, you know what I mean, these
Okay.
I just explained how something like that could happen genetically if blood types
Yeah.
if humanity went on long enough that these blood types were to mutate or something happened
Okay.
and it made that these people are unable to breed, then yes, populations could happen, but that doesn't mean they're not human. They're still humans. They still are
Whatever you want
humans.
to.
They're still our kind, right?
There's different Homo sapiens, there's Homo
No, there's not.
sapiens, Homo erectus,
No, there's
Neanderthals,
no, there's
Decivorans,
no.
and
They're animals that we can
Cro-Magnons.
observe. They're creatures that exist.
They're
The
humans.
Neanderthal is nothing but a human, and all the evidence that's come out about
They are
Neanderthals
humans. I just
associated,
said that.
well, sorry, human beings, Homo sapiens. All the evidence that's come out about
No, we're Homo
Neanderthals being
sapiens.
associated with Homo sapiens. If you still think Neanderthals were anything but a human, I don't know what to tell you, man. They
This
were
one from
100%
Ain't My
humans.
First Rodeo Strikes Again says Trinity and has a sign of a three-sided protractor. I think that's what that is. They say God the Father and God the Son and God the Holy Spirit, but it is even more than that. The Son is begotten from the Father and the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father. You can't define God. Interesting.
He's
Because
saying anytime you try to divine the Trinity, you become a heretic. It's supposed to be just sort of like magic. You're just supposed to accept it as true. It depends on the denomination, I guess you are, but there's like a whole skit. If you go watch it, different denominations say all the other ones are heretical when you go define the Trinity.
this one from
But
Violentix says, Ozien, what is the abyss hole on your wall?
that
We were
is a
talking about that.
portal to where the Diego Garcia, where that plane disappeared through. Anyways, I did a show. There's a whole conspiracy about a plane. It's a joke. It's just a carpet on my wall.
Yeah, it's
It's a carpet. See, look, my
That's
hand
cool.
doesn't disappear at all. Nothing happens. Ah, damn, that hurt.
I commented on it too in the
It didn't
background.
disappear. No.
It's pretty cool.
No.
This one from Ain't My First Rodeo strikes again, says God is truth, way, and life, the answer and the solution, the Messiah, cornerstone, Alpha and Omega, truth in all caps. Bring it on, please. You will get hooked. Jesus is always. Interesting. Now,
I
are
have
you
no
saying
problem
you
with
want to debate
Christians.
Ozien? Is that what you're saying? Our questioner, Ain't My First Rodeo? Joshua Jamie says, every fossil is a transition fossil. And again, every animal is adapted to its environment. And those that are not will be far more rare because they will die before reproducing.
Yeah, and it'll stop the chain. It'll end the road. You just said it right there. They'll die before they reproduce. It'll end the road. They have to reach this point. If you're going to go from one species to another, unless you're just turning from a dog to a cat, that's conceivable. But if you're going to actually transition from, say, a bird to a land animal or a fish to a land animal, you have to go through these periods, like we talked about earlier, where you're going to be an unproductive species. And yeah, you're right. They would die off and not exist, and we wouldn't see the creatures that we supposedly see through evolution today.
A canine cannot evolve into a feline.
Yeah, I know. That's not what I said.
This
You
one
said a
coming
dog
in.
into a cat. It can't happen under theory
That's
of
not what I
evolution.
said at all, man. Not even
Just-
close.
Okay.
I think the people
Twitter.
understand.
Bitter Truth says, my open challenge, evolution versus creation, to evidence of or any creationist is to prove creationism. I will prove evolution and disprove creationism. Wow. This one coming in from Joshua Jamie says, Jesus didn't teach bonobo apes to be more moral than humans.
Okay.
I think they're saying, hey, evidence of God, bonobo apes have even better ethics than humans. And this is kind of like not what you would expect on a Christian worldview, because you'd think that if Christians have access to the Bible or that they're created in God's image, that they would have, or that humans would have
Well,
better ethics.
don't these apes they're societal apes, right? And they gang up and they kill other tribes and they brutalize them. No,
Bonobos? No. I think
Bonobos?
was it bonobos? Bonobos, right?
I don't think it was a bonobo.
Bonobos.
Either way.
Okay, yes. So it's bonobos.
It was bonobos. Anyways, they're animalistic. I mean, I don't know about the. I'll definitely look it up, because that's what you do when people bring evidence forth, is you look it up. So I'll definitely check that out and see what it's about. But I highly doubt that they have some sort of society that's more productive for. That has some sort of objective morality comparable to humanity and Christianity. But I'll look it up for sure.
I don't think they said it was objective. They said they have a morality because
among their society, an objective morality that they all worked with.
Yeah. So like the question if it's objective, subjective is like, we know what morality is. I believe it's subjective. We can have disagreements on that, but that's a different argument.
We got into that.
Yeah.
Juicy. This one coming in from Joshua Jamie says, they do die off, and it's called extinction, and it happens all the time. Well, I want to come back to that, because that was about an earlier question. But first, with regard to the question you just asked, that you were just talking about, namely bonobo apes, whether or not they do these murderous gang attacks on others. He said bonobo apes don't kill at all. So you know nothing about this.
Know nothing about the bonobo apes. See, but what I did there is I said that I would educate myself on these apes. I highly doubt what you're saying is accurate, but I will definitely go and look it up, because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't just accept what people tell you, right? There's like Ozien might next debate bring the bonobo apes up and say that they're a great species and they're better than humanity. right? No, I'm just using it as an example, right? But I'll go look it up, and if you're correct, then I'll think about it, and perhaps I'll do a video on it, because that's what you do when evidence comes your way.
If I did a debate on if morality exists or not, I might bring it up in a debate like that. But in a debate about if God exists or not, I don't think it's relevant to the debate. But you can look up bonobos are very interesting. They're closer to us than chimpanzees are when it comes to evolutionary genetically, a little bit closer than chimpanzees, and they actually have a lot of homosexual behavior, which is really interesting to see. But anyways, look it up. Trouble solving, they can solve puzzles, they can disarm traps. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it. I mentioned the one that they mentioned. They said that these animals do die off. It's called extinction, and it happens all the time. And that wasn't about the bonobos. This is an earlier question where they had mentioned that you have every fossil is a transitional, and again, every animal is adapted to its environment, and those that are not will be more rare because they die before reproducing.
Yeah, that's exactly. See, that's the same point. So yes, they do die off and they go extinct, and because of that reason, those things. I'm glad that he's at least acknowledging what I'm saying, right? He's at least acknowledging that this transition must exist. But I think he's just missing the point that if this were the case that they had to go extinct at that point, then we wouldn't have anything left today, and we would certainly have some of these creatures in the fossils. But instead, we don't have one. We don't have one example of an unproductive species in the fossil record, like this gentleman writing knows exists.
Transitional species are not unproductive species. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes,
As species coexist, they were productive until they died off.
they're in between environments. They're unproductive to their environment. They have useless limbs potentially. There's things that are unproductive to their environment. It's the only possible way you can make a transition. Try to transition to anything, right?
You don't need useless limbs to transitional species. They just have to be able to not procreate with macro species.
With macroevolution, yeah, you could just jump from one thing to another. But in the actual reality of evolution theory, I know, but you're pretending there is. In the actual reality of evolution theory, with small changes to allele frequencies, and genetic mutations, one by one, you're going to run into this problem. And it's not, people know that you're going to run into this problem. I mean, you just don't want to admit it, but people know that evolution needs transitional fossils. And that's why people say, I'm a transitional fossil, because it avoids the topic, and they know damn well that we don't have what we need to have.
Every fossil is a transitional fossil. That's what.
Not according to Darwin.
Deny it.
Darwin didn't agree.
It doesn't matter. That's
Darwin was absolutely right. Oh, do you know more than Darwin about evolution?
Yes, I know more about evolution.
You know more than Darwin. You don't even
200 years ago. Absolutely, I do. Okay. Darwin does not understand modern evolutionary theory. I understand more about modern evolutionary theory than Darwin is, because Darwin's been dead for 150 years.
No, you don't. How come Darwin knew that we had the fossils that we should have, we don't have? But you understand, you can't even comprehend what I'm saying.
Modern evolutionary theory is not Darwinian evolution. You know that, right?
Yes, but it all stems from the same thing. Okay, a single-celled organism turned into a giraffe. There's no way around it, man. It is what it is, and we don't have the fossil records.
You're a straw man again. Single-cell organism did not turn into a giraffe.
Okay. Did it change into a giraffe over a long, long time? Far, far away ago?
It had transitional species all in between.
And where are they in the fossil records? That's my point.
There were 5 of them I found.
Productive species. Get the picture book, man.
All productive species.
Picture book. Get the picture book.
They don't have to be non-productive species. What are you talking about?
They have to be.
No, they do
See, you're
not.
acting as if these macro changes. That's just so funny, because you're explaining macroevolution, and then you go, no. That's what you're doing.
You understand, like one species can exist, and a population that species can diverge from that same species. This species can still exist, and this other species can exist too.
What does that have to do with what we're saying?
A species does not have to die off and become non-productive for evolution to exist.
I never said that at all.
Then why keep bringing it up?
Because when you make a transition from one environment to another, right? Not macroevolution, like you're saying, we just jump to the next.
No one's talking about macroevolution.
Well, you are, sir. You are. You just don't understand it.
No, I'm not.
Because you're
No, I'm
denying the
not.
fact that microevolution
What
exists.
species? What's a species? What defines a species?
They don't. There is no something that can reproduce amongst it. The species doesn't really even have a definition, to be honest. But something that can reproduce amongst its
Here we go.
kind.
Yes,
right?
a species is often defined as a group of organisms. No, we're talking science, not your made up stuff from your Bible.
Species doesn't even have a definition.
It's right here. A species is often defined as a group of organisms that can produce naturally with one another and create fertile offspring.
Okay, so that's exactly what I said. First of all, second of all, like the analogy you made earlier, right? With what's it called, ring theory, right? You know what ring theory is? No, of course not. So, like ring theory is what you just explained earlier that you didn't know about is when
I didn't know
species.
about it?
No, you didn't. Species
okay.
are no longer able to breed with certain members of their own species, right?
I understand that.
Exactly. So this is called ring theory, and this is something we observed. They did studies with lizards, right? So these are things we observed. So when you get ring theory, I forget what we're talking about. I lost track.
There's various ways that species transition to other species. Various ways.
Oh yeah,
evolutionary theory, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
This might be
sorry, James. Go ahead.
I will give you guys really quick rejoinders, and then we've got to go to the next question. If you want to give a quick response.
Yes. No. So I was saying, so when we were talking about the ring theory, you were saying that species change and they die off, and then the other ones go. But that's the point: is they stick when they change over to their environments, right? That's when you're going to find these minute changes that are going to render them obsolete to the environment they're in, right?
They don't have to change environments to evolve.
But they do. That's the point. You're right. They don't have to, but they do. So where's the proof? That's my point. I agree they don't have to.
This one might be an opportunity. We're going to jump to this Joshua Jamie question or comment. It says, humans kill often, bonobos don't kill at all. And then they said, you highly doubt what I'm saying, yet they are well known as the hippie apes due to them not ever killing and using sex as trade.
Yeah, they
sounds like
sell sex.
Interesting species. I'll definitely check it out.
Like Ozien in a monkey suit. This one
I won't do my trans jokes like I normally do this time. Oh shit, I just did.
Oh my gosh, Ozien. Okay, this one, very lewd. Joshua Javy says, every species that has ever gone extinct is proof of unproductive species, and we have fossil of tens of thousands of them.
No, they're productive species. They're productive to their environment. They're suited to their environment. They don't have the observable changes that they would have required to make the transition that would have rendered them obsolete. And I'm not saying that every single transition from one to the other needs to have this format, but they would have had these steps along the way that rendered them not as productive as they were. But because we have environment changes, and all the different species that supposedly evolved from a single cell, we're going to have so many examples of these useless, obsolete fossils. And that's fine. If they die away, they go extinct. Fair enough. But they existed. So why is it that the wolves are outrunning them? That's the question.
Every fossil's unique.
Or they're outrunning wolves.
Every fossil's unique.
I agree, but that does have to be good.
That just falsifies your claim that they're not.
No, it's not. Unique is not the same thing. You're straw manning everything, man.
No, because you are straw manning the theory of evolution.
Not at all.
My good
not
sir.
At all. It's
absolutely, my good sir.
Evolutionary biologists
debate somebody who's an expert. You do not.
The evolutionary biologists understand what I'm saying. They know that there should be these, and Darwin knew it too. But you know more than Darwin, right?
Yes, about modern evolutionary theory than Darwin did. Absolutely.
No, you don't.
Ain't my first rodeo. Sneaks in a last minute super chat, says science is just scientific method to prove math/science in a fallen world. Please, evolutionist, define science. Start with Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, and then the Renaissance next. Science, quote unquote, man, Charles Darwin's evolution of species is dumb.
No, I'm not an evolutionist. I'm a naturalist. Science is a methodology to understand the nature of the world around us. We make an observation. We apply the laws of physics, the laws of nature to our observation. We make guesses. Then we do some type of observational testing, or we do some type of testing by manipulating independent variable and observing the outcome. With evolution, we made predictions about where we would find certain fossils in certain substrates. And it's not just one fossil we did this for. You picked one. I'm not familiar with all of them, but there's more than one. You should do a debate with like Grayson or something. He's definitely an expert on this. But with that being said, evolution is science. You can reject evolution, but evolution doesn't falsify God. So I would never say evolution is true, therefore God doesn't exist. It's not my argument. So I don't know why Christians in the United States continue to bring it up as if it's an argument against God. Because if it is, then we should believe God doesn't exist.
It's an atheistic driven argument with the goal to eradicate God from the hearts and minds of the populations. 100% it is. It's not real. There's no evidence for it, but it's taught in schools. Well, they tell us that intelligent design is harmful to teach to children, but we'll teach them about shapeshifters floating around on a random planet with no purpose and somehow have objective morality. I don't know.
The conspiracy
sounds reasonable.
Conspiracy
theory, observable theory. See, you just throw conspiracy at something that's observable. Great scientific method you got there.
That's not science. Not everything is
observe. Yes, it is. Observe, test. Science is an individual process to know something, right?
Didn't understand what I was saying.
I did understand it. You're saying that science doesn't have to be in a lab. Science is something that you can observe, test, and repeat. I can do science right here.
It was conspiracy theory that you're saying that evolution is being taught to deny God. That's a conspiracy theory.
Is intelligent design allowed in school?
Wait, the conspiracy theory is evolution is out there to deny God. Evolution does not falsify God. No one who's rational in philosophy of religion debates uses evolution to disprove God. When do you ever see an atheist philosopher of religion make an argument that says evolution is true, therefore God is false? The only people that
Richard Dawkins, Aaron Ra. Richard Dawkins, Aaron Ra.
Are they philosophers of religion?
I think Aaron Ra is a biologist now, isn't he? And evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins. And they're saying that evolution theory disproves the Bible and God. So you just debunked your own claim.
I did not, because they are not philosophers of religion. They're lay people when it comes to philosophy of religion. They don't understand the philosophy of religion. By golly, they deny even having beliefs, which is absurd.
They have more sway in the education systems through their activism than any philosopher will ever have in history. So my point is, school is pushing out God, bringing in these crazy ideas with the objective of eliminating God from schools and from the population.
Because they're not the ones in control of the education system. Just because a couple of irrational atheists are making some argument that says evolution falsifies God, which no atheist philosopher of religion makes, because they're not stupid, because no rational person would make such an absurd argument, because evolution doesn't falsify God, the age of the universe doesn't falsify God, Big Bang cosmology doesn't falsify God. No scientific argument falsifies God. It would be absurd to make the claim that it does, which is why I don't make those claims, because I am not absurd. So when you're coming to me and making these arguments, you're straw manning my position. My argument that God doesn't exist is that naturalism is true. Therefore, I'm justified in accepting the claim that the belief, because I accept beliefs are you can justify beliefs. These other people that are absurd when they say they're never justified in accepting belief. You don't obtain all knowledge through science. That's called logical positivism, logical empiricism. Logical empiricism is self-refuting. It is absurd. It was rejected 100 years ago. I'm not a logical empiricist, and it is absurd. I can attain knowledge through other methods than through the scientific method. When I said you're a conspiracy theorist, that is not a scientific claim. That is because you don't have the evidence to draw the connection between some nefarious plan between evolution and denying God, because by golly, most of the Christians in the world believe evolution is true and still believe in the existence of God. And you're trying to say it's some nefarious plot. It is not. It's absurd. You're a conspiracy theorist. It is irrational. People should reject your argument that evolution falsifies God, the age of the universe falsifies God, Big Bang cosmology falsifies God. Because if science falsifies God, then your God doesn't exist. And you have no rational basis for accepting that God exists. And it's an absurd argument. No rational person makes those arguments. The people that do are irrational. I'll see that to their faces.
Okay, so why is intelligent design not being taught in school? One, and two, why is it that if you bring up things like intelligent design in academia, you are absolutely squashed? Atheists always point out, why isn't there any research on God in academia? Because it's squashed. It's not a conspiracy theorist. They do push God out. They act like it's some crazy, ludicrous idea that has no place in the science labs, right? And we can discover, why is it that genetic similarities has to be associated with shape-shifting and not, why can't we look into intelligent design as well? That's the point, is they have to eliminate God from the possibility, right? So then they say, oh, it's all shape-shifting and evolution, but then you eliminate all the possibilities from the biblical narrative and intelligent design. They push that stuff out of the school and they bring in evolution, hence they're using evolution to push out that, which is my whole point. So I don't know why you're calling everyone a conspiracy theorist when you can't even see what's in front of your face. This country, the West was Christian. It's been pushed out by atheistic evolutionary ideas.
Intelligent design is not science. It is
see, exactly. You're indoctrinated. It is.
It is post-fiction.
Go to the next one. I hate to do this, guys. Joshua Jamie says they aren't productive. That's why they went extinct. And we have tens of thousands of them recorded. You were just obviously wrong.
We have already answered this so many times. All right, I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
This one coming in from...
They're not there. Sorry, yeah, they're not there. I mean, addressed that a bunch of times. They're
people
not.
That worried, people worried in the audience, I'm upset or I'm going to have a heart attack. I am not. Just heated, passionate about the topic.
Just passion.
I like your passion. And this one from Gaius Husky says, hey, evidence of God, evolutionary scientists get Nobel Prizes while you and your kind give each other participation trophies. You mad, bro?
See, that's exactly what I just explained to Ozien. They push the intelligent design and try to get funding for intelligent design. It'll never happen. But then the atheists turn around and say, see, they can't do nothing. But the best part about all of it is there's me and there's so many other people. Like, I have lists of this stuff, right? What I brought today, it was short form. You can go to my channel. But even though they're trying to push God out, they're still making discoveries that's confirming the Bible, and they don't even realize it, right? But yeah, it's not a conspiracy theorist. They're pushing intelligent design out, which is why the Nobel Prizes and all these discoveries aren't attributed to God, is because they won't allow it. They won't fund it, and they won't let them publish it unless it's in like Answers in Genesis. But like, whoop-dee.
What do you think the religious belief is of most people that won a Nobel Prize?
Most of them are Christians, but they want to keep their jobs. Yeah. They don't talk about intelligent design. What do you think most of the people that have been fired from academia?
I can explain why they don't teach intelligent, but that's not the topic. We can have a debate on intelligent.
Because you say it's not science, right? That's what you just said. You said it's not science.
No, I didn't say it's not science. It's not using the scientific method is the problem with intelligent design. I've done a video on it. You go to my channel. Look at all the videos on Ozien Talks. It's not on Matters Now, where I talk about intelligent design. It's because of that. If they could demonstrate it and produce papers that could be peer reviewed and substantiated, it would become a theory. But they use circular reasoning to justify intelligent design, which is the problem with intelligent design. It doesn't make any predictions about the future, which
it does.
Evolution does.
There's so many predictions in the Bible, man. Evolution makes a prediction that we're going to find a kimono dragon in the mud, and all of a sudden there's Nobel Prizes handed out, and everybody's clapping, and it's and it's fact now, right? But the Bible makes thousands of predictions, like abiogenesis, the water, for instance. Let the water bring forth a moving creature that have life, right? Let the fowls in the air multiply, and then let the fowl multiply in the earth. This is a correlation of evolution thousands of years before evolution theory was even thought of. But that prediction is irrelevant to you, right? Because we found a kimono dragon in the mud, right? Like it's just it's totally unfair and irrational, is what it is.
It's not a scientific prediction. So this is the same argument I got in with the deer.
Is it in regard science?
Here, let me go. Is a mustard seed the smallest seed? Do you want me to do a science argument? Mustard seed is not the smallest science. The Bible is not a science textbook. It's not designed to teach you science. Is designed to teach you ethics, morality. It's designed to guide your the way you live, the culture you live in, and stuff like that. It's not there to teach you science.
So that the mustard seed, so if you look at the orchid seeds, right? The orchid seeds are little pods that float through the air, and orchids don't plant in the ground. There's very specific terrestrial orchids, and orchid seeds actually go all the way up to 6 millimeters. The mustard seed is like 1 to 2, sometimes less than 1. Orchid seeds can go all the way up to 6 millimeters. And when you're dealing with terrestrial orchids, which means in the ground, which Jesus said the smallest seed when sown in the earth, when you're dealing with orchid seeds like that, and orchid seeds also germinate for, I think, 9 months. 9 months of germination, which means it's expanding in the earth. The mustard seed takes 7 days. So if you want to talk about what Jesus actually said, it's the smallest of seeds when sown in the ground, he was right. It's bigger than the orchid seed after germination, and it's bigger. And most of the orchid seeds, they don't grow on land. They don't grow on land. They grow on trees. They grow on moss. They grow on beaches. They don't grow in the land.
There's many seeds smaller than the mustard seed. The point being, it's a moral lesson that Jesus is teaching his followers that from small things, because the people that knew what a mustard seed, what is the smallest seed that they knew that existed, so that even the smallest seed that you know basically that exists can grow into this big thing. It's not the biggest thing a seed goes into. There's many seeds that are smaller than it. But it's an analogy to give a moral lesson about how to live your life. And it's this, you can take this small idea, this small concept about love, faith, this thing, this wonderful, beautiful thing we're trying to create as a community, and it can grow and blossom and become this worldwide religion that you were bragging about in beginning. So trying to say it's a scientific claim and trying to justify it as a scientific claim leaves the door open for me to use science to falsify the Bible.
Please do. Absurd. Please do. See what you just did there. You just went, I'm going to debunk this claim. And then I showed you exactly what Jesus said and what the actual reality is. And then you went, wait. You went, then no, it's a metaphor. Annie. That's what you did.
Here, I found 3 seeds.
What size are they? How big are they? How big are they?
They're all smaller than the mustard seed.
How big are they?
Holy
0.5 millimeters? 0.5 millimeters?
They're like dust.
Mustard seed goes down to the 0.5 millimeters. So how big are they?
They're smaller than 0.5 millimeters.
What are they? Read them.
So I'll do the research for you since you didn't do it. Yeah. So no, hold on. Those.
Go for it. I want to hear this.
And then we'll go to the
That's not the lesson of the story.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to skip it, right? Because I have done the research, and you got the poppy seed, which is pretty close to the mustard seed, and then you got the orchid seeds, which are tiny in comparison, but they don't grow.
So you want me to falsify it? Yeah. Okay, so let's see this. I'll look it up then. Go ahead, James.
Ain't my first rodeo, thanks for your super stickers. And also, they said Ozien equals absurd and illogical. The other guy has evidence. Jesus is always truth. Ozien, do you agree?
If you believe Jesus is always truth, then it must follow that I'm saying something that's false. I don't agree. I believe I'm saying what... No, that's a good question. Like, if God exists, then I'm wrong.
This one from... I saw one from someone new. It was gayest husky. They say ID, intelligent design, is not in science because it has zero evidence. EOG, 0 results. Quit whining. Internet equals forever. Don't let your legacy be people seeing you being a man-child beta cuck. I added the beta cut part. Okay,
Did
but
you?
we'll give you a chance to respond.
Could you? I'm sorry, I caught the end of it. I was reading. Could you just repeat like the first, just like sentence?
They say intelligent design has zero evidence or results.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I disagree 100%. Intelligent design is flooded with evidence. There's far more evidence to suggest a creator in intelligent design than there is anything. That's why it's funny, because a lot of evolutionary biologists say, when it comes to evolution, I don't like to say believe. Well, I'm sorry, but when it comes to intelligent design, I don't like to say believe, because the evidence is overwhelming for intelligent design. And I encourage everybody to go read the Bible and seek out what it says in the sciences, and you'll see for yourself.
So you don't accept it as true?
What, the Bible?
You don't accept intelligent design or the Bible as true?
What? I didn't say
Belief
that at
means
all.
something you accept as true.
No, yeah, no, fair enough. But what I was getting at is that
Fair enough.
evolutionary biologists say they don't want to say believe because it's a fact, right? I was
Because
mocking
they're
them.
absurd.
But yes, a belief can be something that is true, absolutely.
Because they're absurd, because they misuse words.
It's absurd,
because
that's
they
my
live in
point,
the United States, because you live in the United States where you got a bunch of Christians that say belief is only based on faith. So they don't like using the word belief. So they deny the word of belief is even a word. Belief is just something you accept as true. And a rational belief has justification for it.
Yeah, see, for you might be a nice guy that just wants, everybody to be happy and believe what you want. But for a lot of these atheists, fair enough. But a lot of these atheists, they say these things because they have sway in academia. They have sway over the minds, and they admit they want to eradicate religion. So you call it a conspiracy, but yet the people in academia openly admit, many of them, they don't want religion here at all.
Who?
Do you want me to say some people who
Aaron Ra's not in
Aaron Ra,
academia.
Forrest Valkai, pretty much
not
everyone on those atheist shows admit they want to eradicate religion. Absolutely,
they're on atheist shows, not in academia.
Forrest Valkai is an evolutionary biologist. Aaron Ra is an evolutionary biologist. What are you?
You said in academia.
That's not academia. Forrest Valkai works in labs. He works on evolutionary. He's an evolutionary biologist. He has a channel. He works in labs, and he runs an atheist show. He is an academic. He's a very smart dude.
He's an academic, but doesn't mean he teaches.
He does teach. He talks about it.
Yes, but he runs a YouTube channel.
He does a lot. He runs a YouTube channel anyways. Whatever, that guy.
So you're just angry with online internet.
I'm not angry with them. You asked me a question and I told you. They openly admit they don't want religion.
I'm still trying to find smallest seeds.
They say it's harmful and they want to eradicate it. This is the academic consensus, and this is a problem, sir.
We're so consumed with Christianity that when you look up smallest seeds, all it talks about is friggin' orchids and mustard seeds.
I know. It's pretty bad.
Friggin' stupid. Maybe I'll use ChatGPT. It'll probably be easier.
Thanks for your super sticker. Ain't my first rodeo. And then I think we're pretty much caught up there. And then we have this one came in much earlier. Thanks again for your super stickers. They're very beautiful. And AS says, can you ask evidence of God if he's okay with his children in order for God to teach him a lesson? Because sometimes people talk about I think they call it soul building idea of the problem of evil, namely that could God be using this to kind of scratch a person, make them more wise, and they endure suffering. So they say, can you ask evidence of God if he's okay with his children dying of cancer in order to quote unquote teach him a lesson? I think they're saying, like, what would your response personally be if you were in that situation?
I mean, like, I don't want anything to happen to my child. Of course not. It would be devastating to me. But unfortunately, this world is the way it is. And we all learn from our experiences and they help us grow. And someday when I pass away, my child will learn from those experiences. And this is the way of humanity. It's the way of God's plan. I don't pretend to understand why God created this, but I do understand that God is a lot more intelligent than I do. And when I look at the big picture, it all seems to make sense, the reason we have suffering, even though I don't understand the purpose of it. But as far as the biblical narrative, suffering makes sense.
I found the answer for the question, the smallest seeds. So I was the 10 smallest seeds are orchid seeds, number one, epiphytic bromeliads, begonia, alpinia, dwarf ginger, hukiri, primola, lobelia, poppy, petunia,
Can you read the
and the
sizes?
mustard seed are tied for the 10th smallest
Read the
between 1 to
sizes.
2 millimeters. What's that?
Read the sizes.
The smallest is 0.1 to 0.3 millimeters, 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters, 0.5 to 1 millimeter, 1 to 2 millimeters, 1 to 2 millimeters, 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter.
Yeah, see, so a
1
mustard seed can
millimeter,
go all the
1
way down to
millimeter.
0.5 of a millimeter. It says on there, and it only germinates for 7
there's-
days.
There's
So
three
yeah,
that are
online
small.
they have that because they don't want, right? So I got a bag of them and I measured them because I'm obsessive like that. Yeah, and some of them go down to 0.5 in diameter, and you can they lie, man. They lie
So
on
it's
there
based
because
on
they
your measurement.
go get yourself, buy a bag on Amazon, go on Amazon, get a bag of mustard seeds and measure them yourself.
But they could be like chipped and stuff like that. Like,
So, and then they germinate for 7 days. If you look at all those are going to germinate probably for weeks to months, right? Like the orchid seed can germinate for up to 9 months. While it's germinating, it's expanding in the earth. And Jesus says the smallest of all the seeds in the earth when sown, right? He doesn't just say it's the smallest. He gives specific criteria in the earth when sown, right? So once you sow the seed in the earth, then it's the smallest. That's what he says.
well, now you got 9 other
verse.
seeds to falsify, and these might.
But they're all
come
similar. They're
smaller
all
too.
comparable sizes, right?
Did you buy them all and see if they had smaller ones that were smaller?
No,
than 0.5?
maybe I'll do that.
So you just found one seed that was 0.5. Okay.
Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll buy them all.
Because it says here
But
they fall
that's-
within a range.
They're
of
all
1 to 2
comparable to the
millimeters.
mustard seed, and then you got to look at the germination. But I'll go through them and I'll look at that. And you know, when it goes to the verse, anyways, Jesus is talking about a farmer that sows his crops. So it's real. But people bring this up all the time.
Point.
So people bring this up all the time as an issue. And like you just read, they're all comparable.
Not
to the
an
mustard seed.
issue.
It's
Once
not
again,
an issue, no, because
It's
I
not
guarantee
an
that
issue.
when it's germinated in the earth, I guarantee it's got a smaller germination.
Why did I bring up the mustard seed? Why did I bring it up? What was my argument?
Because you tried to debunk it. You did you said this debunks the Bible. And then when I told you that, then you went, oh, it's metaphorical.
No, wrong. I never said it debunked the Bible.
Yes, you did. That's what you said.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did, sir.
No, that would
Watch it
go
back.
back and rewind.
I did.
Watch it again. I never said it refuted the Bible.
Yes, you did. You said, if you want to do this, then I can do it right now. That's exactly how you said it.
That wasn't my point. My point is the Bible is not a science book. The story of the mustard seed is not about actually what the smallest seed in the world was. The story of the mustard seed is about how you can plant small things in a
Yes, I
community.
understand what the verse is about. Absolutely. I know the
So
Bible.
it has nothing to do with the scientific claim about what the smallest mustard seed is. So guess what? If the mustard seed is not the smallest seed, it doesn't mean the Bible's false.
No, it doesn't. But when people bring it up, I like to look into these things because people bring them up. And when I look into them, I get to actually think about what Jesus actually said. And then I get to observe what we actually have and make my decision from there. Whether Jesus was speaking metaphorical or not is irrelevant because people are bringing that up as like you did in this debate as a way to say they're debunking the Bible.
No,
when in fact, they're not.
You're lying because I specifically said it doesn't debunk the Bible.
Well, now
you're lying about what I said.
Now you did. Not before.
From the very beginning, I said it didn't falsify the Bible. I said it falsified your claim that the Bible was scientific. I said it falsified your claim.
That's what you're saying. You're falsifying the Bible with science. You said I'm falsifying the Bible with science. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
The Bible's not a scientific test.
I say it is.
Scientific book.
I say it follows science. You say it doesn't.
So then now we got to the truth of the matter is I didn't say it falsified the Bible. I said it falsified your absurd claim, which is the same claim that the deer makes. The deer says, so here we go. Jesus says not to wash your hands before you eat.
Do you really want? I wrote a debate for Nadir. That's how because I was talking to James. If Nadir wants to debate, I will, but I'm not going to go into everything for about this. But everything can be understood. You want to get into the washing hands? Do you want to do this?
I understand. Did you watch my debate with Nadir and defended Christianity?
I'm not sure.
Did you watch my debate with Nadir where I defended Christianity against Nadir and argued that neither the Quran or the Bible was a scientific textbook, that people that are subjected to science subjected to falsification, subjected to crisis of faith within the community. It's why you got so many fundamentalist children who suffer from crisis of faith. That's why you got so many friggin' angry atheists in the United States denying they have beliefs. Is because people like you out there saying you must take the Bible literally, when most Christians in the world don't take the Bible literally. Why is it the atheists up here arguing that you can accept Christianity as true? You can accept Jesus as your savior. You can accept Jesus rose from the dead without accepting the Bible as a friggin' scientific textbook. It's absurd.
Well, thank you, sir, for defending Christianity by saying it's not true. Well, we're all grateful to you. You know, just because you think that the Bible isn't scientific is irrelevant. I'm not saying you just straw man me. I'm not saying Christians that don't believe.
Don't lie about me.
You're lying about me, man. You just spent 20
minutes. I never said the
rambling.
Bible wasn't true. I never said I argued the Bible wasn't true. I said I argued the Bible wasn't a science textbook.
And I'm saying it is. And so are many Christians.
No, I'm denying your claim, sir.
And you're wrong.
Over. This one from Bitter Truth says, do you mean all species were designed intelligently?
I'm cool.
What evidence do you have that this is true?
All species were designed. Like go watch my video about biblical kinds. I can get into it, but the biblical kind described in the Bible regarding the blood types is far more. I bet one day we're going to categorize species by their blood types, because it's the only unchanging variant that can separate a species. We're all separated by our blood type, sizes, viscosity, counts, right? It's all separated into the species. We can't cross blood, yet a human can hook up, providing we're the same blood types, but we're all the same species. We can hook each other up and walk around, right? But I can't do that with a chimp. A chimp is supposedly our closest relative, but why can't I pump a needle in my arm and walk around with them like I can a human? Blood types are what determines species. It's the best way to determine it. It's always set to its own species, and the Bible describes that, as you can see in my video. Species doesn't exist. That's what we were talking about ring species before, is because to prove that a species doesn't exist.
What blood type does a slime mold have?
Well, so it's an oxygen intake system. Go watch my video. It explains about
what
plants
blood type does a slime mold have?
It's an oxygen intake system. That's what blood is. So go watch.
So you're just redefining blood to be whatever you want it to be.
Blood is an oxygen. Blood is an oxygen. What is blood, man?
You're just redefining blood to be whatever.
Blood is an oxygen intake. You know, red blood cells don't have DNA. They're one of the only cells because it's designed for oxygen intake. That's what it is. It's an oxygen intake system. That's what red blood cells do, is they carry oxygen throughout the body, right?
But
that's
what
the
red
purpose
blood
of blood.
cells do they have? What red blood cells do slime molds have?
They have their own oxygen. They breathe oxygen as well. Slime molds also intake oxygen, just like everything else.
Redefining blood to say
I'm not. I told you to watch my video. The kinds are separated by the kinds. The organisms that have blood are defined this way. The organisms that don't have blood are defined this way. But it's all based on oxygen intake systems.
So you just make up your own definitions and your own science. Gotcha.
How's it science? Do you believe that we don't breathe in oxygen? Do you believe everything on Earth doesn't intake oxygen? Is that your position?
Slime molds don't have
science.
Blood.
They take in oxygen, though.
Slime molds don't have blood.
Do they take in oxygen?
They don't have blood.
Yeah, exactly. See, you just don't want to talk about it because I got you. You know you're wrong.
No, I got you. Slime molds don't have blood.
I explained. You don't know what blood is, man. Blood's purpose is oxygen.
You cannot reduce everything to blood type.
You can reduce it to oxygen intake systems because this Earth is based off of oxygen. This is how every organism on Earth survives on oxygen.
Are you sure?
Everyone.
Extremophile. So all extremophiles.
There's one thing that they said, but that thing has organisms that do breathe oxygen that it relies on to survive, that live on it. So I mean, just because, so they say, but why does it rely on oxygen breathing organisms stuck to its body to survive? Just because, science is always changing, right? We're always learning new things, right? So just because you say today this is how something is, it's more likely that, like everything else on Earth, nothing survives without oxygen.
So anaerobic extremophiles don't require oxygen.
I just explained that to you. And they have organisms, they do require oxygen. They have organisms that live on them that they require to live on them that intake oxygen. So just because they say they don't use oxygen right now, they have to convert that to energy somehow. And that's what they're doing. And the oxygen is doing it for them somehow, some way. I guarantee.
So some other life form. So animals work together.
Yeah.
This
So like
one
we
from
have to eat other animals. So
Jesus
No boy.
Eber
That's fine.
Martinez, thank you very much, says science says Adam is equal to XY. So Eve of his rib, Eve is equal to XY. First trans woman. Mary is XX chromosomes. So no Y chromosome. Jesus is XX. So they say this is the first trans male. I think they're saying like if you I guess they're trying to challenge you evidence of God, and they say, or is it magic? Evidence of God, how
they're
would you
challenging me
respond?
too.
I mean, genetics change. There's people that have XXY. There's all kinds of different combinations. So just because, I understand that the male has to pass the Y,
Six.
but there are genetic anomalies that happen. What if Mary had an XXY and then she passed on the Y to Jesus? Like, we don't know. We don't know what happened. I believe it was miraculous, obviously a virgin birth. That's my stance on it. But if you want to talk about it from a genetic perspective, I mean, it's not impossible.
Well, there's not enough. 2 humans aren't enough to reproduce enough humans on the planet, anyways. But
This one coming in. Let's see. I think we're pretty much
I
caught
do
up.
reject that question, though. Like, transgenderism is psychological and biological. It's not reducible to their chromosomes.
Ozien has all the chromosomes. Now, we want to
do.
say we
46,
appreciate all of our
23
guests
pair.
and their chromosomes. I want to say, folks, thanks for watching. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't yet, if you've enjoyed this debate, which I think you have, you've been hanging out here for a long time, folks. It's been a 2-hour, 45-minute debate. Hit that like button. And also, whether you watch on YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast, you can find our guest links in the description below after this debate is done. Want to encourage you, even if you disagree, there's value in going and hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. If you go to their channels, even if you disagree, you can actually truly study it in terms of, you could say, the primary source. Like, it's good to have an awareness of what other people are saying. It's bad when you get to the point of, like, long story short, I just want to encourage you to, at least if you're going to criticize it, know what you're criticizing. Let's put it that way. I want to say it's been a true pleasure, folks. Huge thank you to Ozien and Evidence of God. It's been a tremendous debate. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. A lot of fun.
There's
Thanks, Ozien.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Study William Lane Craig too, as a Christian. If you're a Christian,
I do watch William Lane Craig. I know he's an evolutionist. I do. He's not one of my favorites, but yeah, I do watch him. I knew you'd like him.
This one from Ain't My First Rodeo snuck a last one in. It looks like, I can't tell if this is Greek. He says, Lisas esta via veritas. The rest looks like it's in Greek, and then says Jesus es camino, verdad y vida. I think that's saying Jesus is the truth and the life. And that seems like Spanish, but I don't know. Want to say, folks, we do appreciate you, whether you be Christian, atheist, Muslim, you name it. We're glad that you were here at Modern Day Debate. We're a neutral channel, and we have big aspirations for the future as we want to provide a neutral platform so that everybody can make their case on a level playing field. So stick around, folks. I'll be back in just a moment with some quick updates just to get to chat with you one-on-one in the live chat. Stick around, and I will be back after I let our guests go. One last thank you. It's been a true pleasure, Ozien and Evidence of God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, want to say thank you very much for all of your support. It's been a true pleasure to have you here. Let me just fix this little on-screen get up here. I just want to say it's seriously a blast to have you guys here. Thanks. Please say hello in the chat. Clever, I see you there in the live chat. Iron Horse, good to see you. Pikachu, good to have you with us. I see you there in the live chat. Want to say, folks, it is always fun here at Modern Day Debate. Always a lot of fun and juicy debates. We appreciate our guests' passion. It's certainly better than a boring debate, that's for sure. Want to say, Sir Courage Wolf, glad to see you there. I see you in chat. Solomon Pat, glad to have you. What? Thanks for coming by. Sir Boogie Goyberger, thanks for coming by. Christian Bridges, happy to have you. Warrior Work with Wendy, glad to have you here. Ain't my first rodeo. Thanks so much for all of your super chats, and thanks for your kind one. I wanted to save this one until after the stream because I always let's see, I'm flattered and encouraged. And also, I wanted to have my plenty of alone time to say thank you. As plenty of time to say thank you. They say Modern Day Debates is the best stream on YouTube. Thanks for your kind words. That means a lot to say. Thanks, Dr. James Coons. This is the best broski. Thank you very much. That seriously means more than you know. The funny thing is when I see Dr. James, I'm like, it almost looks like something like a joke or something, just because like I'm just like, is that real? That's crazy. Because I've never had that next to my name. And so it's just kind of weird seeing it. But want to say, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, huge thank you to Justin and Ryan. They kept this channel going. Really. While I was this last 6 months, especially, just laboring away, trying to squeeze in my dissertation in that spring semester. It was like really fast. It just basically there were some all-nighters. I pulled some all-nighters. I don't like doing that. I wouldn't recommend it, but and I'm not proud of it, but I was just really wanting to, I'm just trying to emphasize how much I want to get done with this degree. It's been 6 years. And so, yeah, I was, in order to get my dissertation, like feedback incorporated and send it back to my advisor and then wait for feedback, is I was just burning the wick on both sides. So thanks, Yahoo, again for your support. I appreciate you being here, and it's good to see you. By the way, Stream Elements, Justin, it's obviously an improvement on Modern Day Debate, so thanks for that idea as well. Hannah Anderson, thanks for being here, and thanks to all of our mods. Not just the moderators on screen, but I want to say huge thanks to our moderators in the live chat. And Ain't My First Rodeo, thanks for your super chat. Thanks for your kind words. And yeah, we do have a lot of people that are mods. This really is a community effort. Modern Day Debate is not my channel. It is everybody's channel. It's like our community channel. So we really do want you to feel like a stakeholder. In other words, everybody wants a fair shot. Nobody can disagree with that. I mean, even if someone was like, "Well, no, like I want a like moderator that was like biased in my position," because they maybe think that'd be an advantage or something. It's like, well, but even if you were more persuasive in the debate, it'd be kind of fake in a way, right? Because you want to be more persuasive because your arguments are actually better, not because you like had some sort of tilted platform that was like known for favoring conservatives or leftists or whatever it is, right? So everybody wants it to be fair. That's the way it should be. We can at least all agree on that, whether we be Christian, atheist, Muslim, you name it. And so I want to say though, thanks for all of your kind words. Thanks, Hannah Anderson says, yay, congrats, Dr. Coons. I appreciate that. That means more than you know. Ain't my first rodeo. Thanks for your kind words. Just keep it up, Dr. James Coons. I'll be lifting you in prayer. Thanks very much. I appreciate your support. And I am just excited. It is like we have big stuff. Thanks for that super sticker. Ain't my first rodeo. We have big stuff coming up for Modern Day Debate. We are doing our in-person debate conference this fall. That's the plan. So we don't have a date set, but it is actually something that I'm planning on setting, kind of like getting the pieces in place this summer. So in probably the next month, I'll probably like start kind of putting together some of the big piece stuff to kind of think through. Like we're about 99% sure this will be in Trenton, New Jersey. So if you're in the Northeast area, Trenton, New Jersey is about an hour and a half, not even, I think, from New York City. Then it's about maybe, is it 2 hours if I remember right? Hour 45 from Philadelphia. So it is in a central area near huge metros. That's one reason we want to test this out to see how DebateCon works in those cities, or I should say between those cities. And then also, we were kind of wondering, well, maybe DebateCon, we've kind of like it's cool we've developed like common attendees down in the Dallas area because we usually do our conferences in Dallas. But we thought, it's also cool to kind of expand out and see new people, meet new people, things like that. We do plan on going back to Dallas at some point. It is a great area, but as of now, we're thinking that it's probably going to be in the Northeast, probably going to be in late October, possibly early November, probably late October would be the sweet spot. And then it is probably going to be, we're not sure yet, but it's probably going to be a mix of political and religion debates on the same day. So that is actually looking back, that was our most successful conference is when we had a mix of like the best religion and the best politics debates in a single day instead of having religion debates on one day and then political on another day is we're thinking, hey, that was a great model. We want to mix them again and get the very peak level, the apex level of debate for each category, and have maybe two or three for each category on that same day. And then basically, it's just going to be this stacked, super talented roster of debates for that day. So I can tell you that, and obviously with the the election coming up in November, we will definitely have more political debates this fall. So even this summer, we're going to start doing some. Hannah Anderson says, "Are you still in Texas, James?" I am in Houston right now, so I do live in Texas still, but I'm actually going to be moving to Phoenix. I plan this fall. So I think what I'm going to do is, in about a month, I will move up to Wisconsin, which is where I grew up, and just spend time with family, slow down a little bit. This last 6 years, I've worked my face off, both with modern day debate and then modern or the PhD being the biggest thing, and then modern day debate, and then also like I've tried to kind of handle all these like other different kind of goals, and so I'm pretty tired to be honest. I need a break. I got to refresh a little bit. So it's going to be nice to go see family and friends, unwind a little bit. We'll still modern day debate will still be active. It's just that I'm thinking, this would be good for me to slow down a little bit. I'll probably host one debate a week or so. And then I'd be grateful if Ryan and Justin, and we might even have a new guy named Travis, who are able to help out hosting other debates. And then I'll just kind of recharge. And my hope is that this summer I should be like very well recharged, and that this fall I'll be like fully charged and just ready to like really hammer this out and get modern day debate just roaring for the political season, also for debate con, and also just in general. We want modern day debate to continue growing. We're excited and appreciate your support. Ain't My First Rodeo says, I'll be there. Plan to buy tickets. I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I would love to add questions to your in-person debates. Keep it up, bro. Thanks for your support. That means more than you know. And we'd love to have you there. I'll let you know. I'm thinking we might even do like spring. So in other words, roughly a year from now, that's maybe when we'd be back in Dallas. So, but yeah, Dominion of God says you sound burned out. Yeah, I am definitely. I have been burned out. And in the most real way, where like there are genuine, like in the literature, the symptoms you could call them. I recognize in myself, and I'm like that is burnout. Like I do have burnout, and so yeah, it's been a lot. But don't worry, I'm gonna recharge. I'm gonna reset. This summer's gonna be great, and then like I said, we're gonna just hammer it. We're excited for the future of modern day debate. This is just the beginning of our story. Join us while we are still small, because this is just the beginning. We have big plans for modern day debate. We are excited about that. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Want to say thanks for all of your support. I'm going to say goodbye. I'll let you guys rest, and I'm going to get some rest. And Kent, speak. Good to see you there in a live chat. Master Optics, good to see you. Max Doherty, thanks for being with us. Jordan Van Nortwick, happy to have you here. Dominion of God, thanks for being with us. Sim Kia, Sim Claw, thanks for being with us. Guarded Logic, happy to have you. Max Doherty, happy to have you here. I want to say thanks for all of your support, everybody. It's been a blast. I'm excited, you guys, for the future. We got big things planned. Stick around, or I should say, keep an eye out at Modern Day Debate as we will have plenty of upcoming debates. So, J Olymp J, thanks for your kind words. I appreciate your love. And yes, we're excited though that yeah, we're gonna have some awesome upcoming debates. So excited for that. But I will see you next time. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable, folks, and we'll see you next time.